Dual Cultivation audiobook by Kevin chapter 526. I always take care of my own people the following day. Su Yang left the pill room with a relaxed expression, whilst Wang Xuren had to physically crawl with her hands in order to even move. I shouldn't have taken a week off, Wang Xuren cried inwardly, feeling sore all over her body, especially the lower half. By the way, how are the sales going for the Earth Advancement pills? Su Yang asked her some time later. The sales are finally starting to slow down. We have earned almost 1 billion spirit stones just last month, said Wang Xuren. And she continued, you'd expect the Zai family to intervene with our business or at least try to get a share of the profit, but they haven't even as much as contact us about our monopoly in the marketplace. I guess they are just that afraid of offending you, the mysterious alchemist. I would say they are more cautious than afraid. If you were in their shoes, what would you do if an alchemist of unknown origins appeared out of thin air with pill recipes that could easily change the entire cultivation world? Wang Xuren was speechless, as she did not know what she would do in such a situation. That's my point. You cannot do anything besides wait. If you try to force a situation, it could easily backfire on you. Anyway, you can continue to monopolize the Earth Advancement pills. The Profound Blossom sect has enough spirit stones to last for many decades even when I am gone. Are you sure? Even if you don't need it, we can continue to send you a few million spirit stones every month, Wang Xuren said. I have already spoiled them enough, he responded with a smile. Sometime later, Su Yang left Wang Xuren's house and went to pick up Zhang Ziying before returning to the Profound Blossom sect. Are you sure I am allowed to be a disciple here, Su Yang? Zhang Ziying suddenly asked him as they entered the sect. Of course. Why are you asking now? He raised an eyebrow. Well, I heard about the disciple examination and how difficult it was, and I have neither talent nor status, so I don't qualify to be here. The only reason I am here is because of my connection with you, and when I think about the thousands of people that have failed to get into the sect, I feel kind of guilty. Zhang Ziying expressed her feeling of guilt. However, Su Yang merely smiled and said, having connections is akin to having status, and in this world, having connections is as important as having talents, if not even more. You shouldn't feel guilty about having connections. Instead, you should be feeling proud as you have earned my trust, and that is not something easily achievable. Hearing his words, Zhang Ziying felt a little bit better. Sometime later, Su Yang handed her a golden medallion and said, starting today, you will be a legacy disciple of the Profound Blossom sect. It is a special position within the sect that only I can bestow. As a legacy disciple, you will receive benefits that are similar to core disciples even if you are an outer or inner court disciple. It's more of a title than anything, and currently, only the disciples who have remained with us whilst everyone left have it. Including you, there are less than 100 people who have it. Are you sure? I am satisfied with being just an ordinary disciple, even if I am only an outer court disciple. I have already received enough from you, Su Yang. You shouldn't spoil me so much. Zhang Ziying felt that he was already being generous enough by allowing her to become a disciple at the Profound Blossom sect. She also doesn't want to feel like she's taking advantage of his kindness, especially when he's someone she loves, as she truly believes that she hasn't done anything to deserve so much. After hearing her words, Su Yang gently touched her soft cheeks with his hands and said, I, Su Yang, always take care of my own people. Even though our meeting was somewhat forced, I have fully accepted you as my woman, and as such, it is my duty to make your life filled with nothing but bliss. Su Yang. Zhang Ziying was completely speechless and her eyes flowed with tears of happiness. Come with me. Su Yang suddenly grabbed her by the waist and pulled her into a random building within the sect that was not occupied. What's the matter, Su Yang? She asked him with a puzzled face. Although this may sound sudden, I will be leaving this place in 2 years, he said to her after closing the door. A, where will you be going? Home. However, that place is not within this world. W, what do you mean? I am actually. Su Yang then proceeded to reveal his real background to Zhang Ziying, explaining to her how he used to be an immortal in his past life, and that he came from a world that was entirely different from this one. An immortal. Zhang Ziying listened to him with a dazed expression, as she was finding it hard to believe that he used to be an immortal. However, there was no reason for Su Yang to be lying to her, so she believed him in the end. And that's my story. How about it? Do you still want to be with me? He asked her after he finished his explanation. Yes, she quickly nodded, and she continued, even if you were the reincarnation of a demon, I would still remain by your side. Then let's cultivate now and make it official, he said to her before dragging her into one of the bedrooms, where he removed her robes and began pleasing her body. A few minutes later, Zhang Ziying's blissful voice resounded throughout the entire house without any restraint. Chapter 527, handing out cultivation techniques like candies after cultivating for a few hours. Su Yang bestowed the family seal onto Zhang Ziying. What a beautiful mark! Zhang Ziying rubbed the family seal below her stomach with a passionate expression, almost like a mother rubbing her stomach during pregnancy. Welcome to the family, Su Yang said to her with a smile. Sometime later, once they cleaned up, Su Yang handed her a storage ring and said, there are 10 million spirit stones and a few immortal-grade martial techniques inside. I originally wanted to give you an immortal-grade cultivation technique, but because your current cultivation technique from the Burning Lotus sect is already deeply rooted in your foundation, unless you destroy your current cultivation and start from scratch, you cannot cultivate a new cultivation technique. However, give me some time, and I will create a brand new cultivation technique using your current cultivation technique as its foundation. That way, you can cultivate a superior technique without needing to restart your cultivation. Why? You can create new cultivation techniques. Zhang Ziying looked at him with wide eyes. Out of everything she's heard today, this is probably the most shocking, as the amount of talent required to create a cultivation technique is massive. Of course, though I rarely do it because it's very tiring. A moment later, Zhang Ziying spoke. But how are you going to obtain the Burning Lotus sect's cultivation technique? Only disciples are allowed to see it, and you are even the sect master of another sect. You shouldn't underestimate the abilities of an immortal. I don't need to read the actual technique to understand it. We have cultivated many times now, and I can guess the cultivation technique from your yin qi alone, he said with a confident face. What? Something like that is possible. Zhang Ziying stared at him with a dazed face. He nodded and continued a few moments later. Anyway, I will let the sect elders know of your presence. You can choose any available living quarter that's to your liking. Then is there a house next to your living quarters? I would like to stay near you, she asked. I will be moving to the yin-yang pavilion soon, as the profound qi there is much denser, and only sect elders are allowed to live in that area. However, since you are a legacy disciple in my family, I can make an exception for you. Thank you, Su Yang, she said with a bright smile. I will find you once I am finished with your new cultivation technique. If you need anything before then, you can just contact me using the communication jade slip. Anyway, I have a few hundred disciples waiting for me to hand them their cultivation technique now. I will see you later, Su Yang. Zhang Ziying said to him before they went their separate ways. Sometime later, when Su Yang arrived at the gathering area, he summoned all of the new disciples from the normal cultivation side. When the disciples received Su Yang's summoning, they all rushed to the gathering area with excitement, their faces filled with anticipation. Once they were all gathered, Su Yang said to them, I shall bestow all of you cultivation techniques that best suit your talents today. But before we start, let me just say that once the cultivation technique is in your hands, it will be your responsibility to protect it. Whether you lose it or give it away, if the cultivation technique somehow ends up in a place where it's not supposed to be, I will immediately cripple your cultivation and banish you from the sect. But this should be obvious, right? The disciples immediately nodded their heads with a fearful expression on their faces. Even if they are in a situation where they must either give up their cultivation technique or die, they would rather die, because they find offending Su Yang even scarier than death itself. Good. Then get in line. The outer court disciples will receive their cultivation techniques first, as there is the most of you here. The outer court disciples began lining up in front of Su Yang. He then proceeded to hand the disciples their cultivation technique like giving out candies, whilst giving them a brief explanation of the technique. A few hours later, when all outer court disciples had received their cultivation techniques, with all of them receiving a heaven-grade cultivation technique, Su Yang called for the inner court disciples. Half an hour later, it was finally the core disciples' turn to receive their cultivation techniques. I am mortal-grade cultivation technique. The core disciples stared at the priceless treasure in their hands with wide eyes and loose jaws. Up to this point, the disciples have received only heaven-grade cultivation techniques. And while Su Yang had already mentioned that he would be giving out immortal-grade techniques, the disciples didn't dare to believe it until they had seen it themselves. Sect Master Su is truly the most generous man in this world. I would have never imagined that I would get to practice an immortal-grade cultivation technique as a mere disciple. Once all of the disciples have their own cultivation technique, Su Yang said to them, "Although all of you now have a cultivation technique, you cannot win fights or hunt spiritual beasts without martial techniques. Therefore, once you have familiarized yourself with your cultivation techniques, I want all of you to choose 3 martial techniques from the profound library: an offensive technique to defeat your opponents, a defensive technique to fend off attacks, and lastly, a movement technique that will help you evade potentially life-threatening attacks." The profound library has 3 floors. The first floor contains martial techniques below the earth grade. The second floor contains martial techniques at the heaven grade. And last but not least, the third floor, which contains immortal grade martial techniques. As all of you are talented individuals, I will make this an exception and allow all of you to visit all 3 floors regardless of your disciple rank. However, you will only have 1 year to learn the techniques, as things will be different once more disciples arrive next year. Now, do you have any questions for me before I dismiss you? Su Yang asked them. Chapter 528, Dual Cultivation Division. Sect Master. One of the disciples suddenly raised his hand and spoke. Can we choose more than 3 martial techniques from the profound library? Of course you can, but I wouldn't suggest biting more than you can chew. All of the techniques in there are not your average techniques, as even the lowest grade techniques are far more profound than usual. A few moments later, another disciple raised his hand and spoke. Sect Master, when will we be able to choose a master in the sect? Su Yang then responded, To tell you the truth, most of the experienced sect elders have long left the sect, so the only ones left are those that have recently been promoted and without much experience in lecturing others. But even if those that have left were still here, they wouldn't be able to teach you properly. Therefore, if you need any advice, you can find me whenever I am available. And once the sect elders are prepared to accept their own disciples, you can accept an official master. However, by the time that happens, I'm sure that most of you here will already be strong enough to continue cultivation without a master. Su Yang continued to answer the disciple's question, and an hour later, after dismissing the disciples, Su Yang returned to his own living quarters to create a new cultivation technique for Zhang Ziu Ying until next week, when the dual cultivation disciples are ready to start their cultivation with him. During that time, Su Yang would assist the new disciples who needed help, and he also moved to the yin-yang pavilion, where the profound qi is much thicker. Of course, that difference no longer mattered to him, who was already at the 5th level heavenly spirit realm. In order for him to increase his cultivation, he will need to consume valuable resources or spend many years just to gain a single level. A week has passed in the blink of an eye, and it was finally time for the Dual Cultivation Division to appear before Su Yang again. At the gathering area, Su Yang stared at the 110 disciples with a calm expression. "So only 2 of you managed to find a partner, huh?" Su Yang said after a glance. "How did you know that, sect master?" The disciples were dumbfounded, as they were sure that he hadn't even been near them for the entire week. If you embrace someone with strong perfume, it's only natural for their perfume to stick on your body. Although none of the disciples here are using perfume, it works the same way with one's aura. He then turned to look at the 7 male disciples that did not manage to find a partner and said to them, "Do not be discouraged by this event. Although you may be in a sect that practices dual cultivation and is filled with women, it does not automatically make it easy for you to find a partner. While it's not entirely your fault for not being attractive enough, you simply need to become a person that is attractive. Of course, there are people out there that cannot become more attractive even if they tried, but fortunately, none of you have a hopelessly ugly face. When I was only an outer court disciple, the females would not even look at me. It was only after I proved my abilities did they finally start paying attention to me." Su Yang recalled his earliest memories of the profound Blossom sect. "Now then, while you may not have a cultivation partner, for the time being, you can always practice your techniques to prepare for when you actually have a partner so that you won't look like a donkey with no abilities when you have to please your partner. After all, it's much more shameful to lack the ability to pleasure your partner than to have no partner at all. Even if you don't have any experience, as long as you practice the techniques I will be giving you, you will be able to pleasure your partners even if you lack any experience. We will not forget the sect master's words today," the male disciples said with serious expressions on their faces. When they were unable to find a partner despite having so many choices after an entire week, they were so ashamed of themselves that they didn't even want to show up to the gathering. But after listening to Su Yang's words, they no longer felt as ashamed, even feeling motivated to find a partner. Su Yang then continued to speak. "Of course, you can always travel outside of the sect and find your partners out there. Just because you are a disciple of this sect does not mean your partner must also be a fellow disciple. In fact, plenty of disciples in the past would rather find partners outside of the sect. While it may not be as effective as cultivating with a fellow disciple and cultivator, the number of people willing to be your partner outside will make up for it. However, you are still too new to leave the sect, so practice your techniques for a few months before you even think about going outside." "Yes, sect master." Sometime later, Su Yang began handing out cultivation techniques to the disciples. But before he handed them out, he explained to them the difference between normal cultivators and dual cultivators. "Cultivation techniques for us dual cultivators are slightly different from the rest. Unlike normal cultivators, the majority of our techniques do not require any talent, only that you meet the gender requirement. However, even though we dual cultivators cultivate slightly differently, we still need to absorb profound qi like every other cultivator. We can absorb profound qi directly like normal cultivators, but as dual cultivators, we mainly absorb our partner's qi before converting it into profound qi. It may seem like we have an extra step when compared to normal cultivators, but that is not the case. When one absorbs profound qi directly, they must cleanse the impurities that they absorbed along with the profound qi afterward. But for us dual cultivators that absorb qi directly from another individual, unless their body is filled with impurities, we don't absorb as many impurities, if any at all. That is why dual cultivators in general cultivate faster than normal cultivators, as we are not required to spend time cleansing the impurities within us as much. Chapter 529, Dual Cultivation Techniques. After explaining to the disciples the difference between dual cultivators and normal cultivators, as well as their advantages and disadvantages, Su Yang handed the male disciples an immortal-grade cultivation technique that will help them convert female yin qi into profound qi with efficiency. As for the female disciples, he also bestowed them a cultivation technique at the immortal grade that helps them convert yang qi into profound qi. Once all of the disciples have a cultivation technique, Su Yang continued, "Now that all of you have a cultivation technique, it's time for the fun part. For normal cultivators, it's only obvious that they would have martial techniques to use in combat. However, for us dual cultivators, our combat usually takes place on the bed, as that is our main battlefield. Therefore, we will require martial techniques that are specifically made for such a unique battlefield." He suddenly turned to look at the male disciples and said, "I will start with the male disciples first." He then retrieved 3 scrolls from his robes and continued, "I have 3 techniques that were made specifically with men in mind here. The first technique is 2 techniques in one, and the junior disciples that have been here before all of you have already learned it. It is called Fingers of Pleasure and World of Pleasure. Fingers of Pleasure will teach you how to locate the sensitive spots on your partner's body, allowing them to feel extreme pleasure just by touching it. As for World of Pleasure, it will greatly increase both you and your partner's sense of pleasure during cultivation, even increasing the amount of qi you both produce. The second one is called Bedroom Dance, which will teach you how to move your body, especially your hips, during cultivation. If mastered, your partners will always leave cultivation with her lower body completely sore. The last technique is called Divine Hands, and as the name suggests, it has multiple hand techniques that will help you pleasure your partners with your bare hands. Once you have mastered these 3 basic techniques, I will give you even more techniques, such as techniques for your tongues and even feet if you desire. Thank you, sect master. We will not let you down." The male disciples bowed to him after accepting these 3 divine techniques. A few moments later, Su Yang turned to look at the female disciples, who were staring at him with flickering eyes. He then retrieved even more techniques, but they were for the females this time. The technique Fingers of Pleasure and World of Pleasure is not unique to men, so females can also practice it, he said to them. The second technique, Heavenly Paradise, is the female version of the men's bedroom dance, and it will teach you how to move your body and hips in a way that will make your partners tremble in pleasure and bow down before you. The third technique will also be Divine Hands, as it's a technique that can be utilized for both sides. And just like the male disciples, once you have mastered the basics, you can request for more techniques. Although I don't have as many techniques for females compared to techniques for men, I have at least one technique for almost every fetish in existence. So if you want techniques for a particular area, don't hesitate to ask for them. Thank you, sect master. The female disciples bowed to him after receiving the techniques. Now that everyone here has received their techniques, I want you to spend another week practicing them, Su Yang said to them. Although you don't really need a partner to practice these techniques, it's highly recommended that you have one, as it's the most efficient way to practice them. If you don't already have a partner, you can simply pair up with someone temporary. I will give all of you an entire month to practice these techniques. Once the month is over, I will see for myself your progress. And if you are a female disciple that does not have a cultivation partner and is willing to cultivate with me, you can show me your progress with the techniques personally on the battlefield. When the female disciples heard his last sentence, their eyes flickered with excitement, and a captivated smile appeared on their faces. I can cultivate with the sect master in 1 month. They were all thrilled by that thought and nearly couldn't contain their excitement in their body. That's all I have for you for today. Until next month. After dismissing the Dual Cultivation Division, Su Yang returned to the Yin-Yang Pavilion, where Liu Lanjai was waiting for him inside her bedroom to fill her hole with his Yang Qi again. Let me guess. None of the male disciples managed to persuade the female disciples to become their partner. Liu Lanjai said to him the instant he entered the room, while she laid underneath the blankets on her bed. Shouldn't you believe in your own disciples at the sect master? Su Yang said with a smile. 2 of them managed to find themselves a partner. Really, that's 2 more than I'd anticipated. I am truly surprised. Liu Lanjai said with wide eyes, as she truly did not expect this result. Anyway, I have given them a month to practice the techniques before I test their abilities. As for the female disciples, I will also be cultivating with them at that time, he said. Well, aren't you a lucky one? You must be grinning from side to side inwardly to have so many young beauties waiting to cultivate with you. I bet most of them are still maidens. Liu Lanjai chuckled. It's nothing new, he responded with a calm smile. Of course you are used to having beauties waiting for you. Now, why don't you let me experience for myself those techniques you gave to the disciples? Liu Lanjai said to him, as she removed the blankets that had been hiding her naked body underneath this entire time. Seeing her smooth skin and slender legs, Su Yang calmly approached her. What are you talking about? As the sect master, you are also going to learn these techniques, and I am going to teach them to you right now, he said as he removed his clothes. Oh, Liu Lanjai exclaimed in surprise. Chapter 530 Refined Technique. On, ah. Liu Lanjai's ecstatic voice resounded in the room as Su Yang demonstrated the dual cultivation techniques he'd given to the new disciples. This is the bedroom dance. Su Yang's movements suddenly changed, and his hips moved in a mesmerizing manner, almost like he was dancing. Ooh! Liu Lanjai's body trembled in delight as she felt his sword stab her cave in a rhythmic motion, causing her cave to gush with yin qi. And this is the divine hands. Su Yang's hands suddenly grabbed her breasts and began kneading them as though they were bread. This is. The tips on Liu Lanjai's breasts were fully perked and rock hard at this moment, resembling a majestic mountain. She couldn't believe that there would exist such profound techniques in this world, as every movement by Su Yang had caused her body to feel heavenly pleasure. Sometime later, Su Yang released his Yang Qi into Liu Lanjai, filling her stomach once again. How was it? That is what the peak of these techniques feel like. Su Yang asked her afterward. It was amazing, and if the disciples can utilize even half of these techniques' full potential, the profound blossom sect. No, the entire dual cultivation world will enter a new era, Liu Lanjai praised. These techniques are merely the basics, barely scratching the surface of the world of dual cultivation, he then said. Oh, then why don't you show me a technique that surpasses even these basic techniques? Liu Lanjai said to him with her eyes flickering with anticipation. If such basic techniques could already overwhelm her body with pleasure, she cannot imagine what could possibly transcend such pleasure. Once your body can endure more, I will naturally show you more. However, as of this moment, your body won't be able to handle it. You make it sound as though it's something dangerous. How can pleasure be harmful? Liu Lanjai raised an eyebrow. There's no need to be impatient, and indeed, pleasure itself cannot harm one's body. However, if too much, just like anything in this world, it can affect you, mostly your mind. You know how some people go crazy after cultivating a technique that far exceeds their capabilities. This is something like that. Once you experience it, your mind will continuously crave for it, almost as though you have become addicted to it. So you're telling me that I could go crazy if I experience these techniques, like a sex maniac? That's right. Su Yang calmly nodded, and he continued, "You are underestimating dual cultivation. If used incorrectly, dual cultivation can become even more horrifying than any martial techniques out there. In my previous life, there was once an evil dual cultivator who enslaved an entire city with his dual cultivation technique, turning all of them into sex maniacs that were no different than animals during mating season. Whether it be other humans or even animals, they screwed everything in sight to satisfy their relentless lust." Xianxia covered her mouth in shock, and she asked, "What happened to those people?" Once somebody reaches that stage, they are no different than depraved creatures. Although there are methods to help them, their craving for pleasure will never cease. Therefore, the cultivators slaughtered everyone that was affected by it. That's— Liu Lanjai was speechless, as nothing that severe has ever happened in the Eastern continent. That's why you shouldn't only teach the disciples how to please others, but how to control themselves too. Anyway, here are all of the techniques I have used today. Even though you cannot use the men's techniques, you should still study them. After giving Liu Lanjai the techniques, Su Yang returned to his own room, where he continued to create Zhang Ziu Ying's cultivation technique. Unlike copying cultivation techniques from his head, which only takes a few minutes, creating a cultivation technique from scratch usually takes years of effort. Furthermore, the more complex the technique, the longer it'll take. There are even techniques out there that have taken millions of years to create. But luckily for Su Yang, he already has a foundation for technique, and all he needed to really do was to tweak it, hopefully increasing it by a few grades. As for the burning lotus sex cultivation technique, because it's only a mortal grade technique, it won't require much effort to improve for an immortal like Su Yang. 2 weeks later, Su Yang finally finished the cultivation technique. After looking through it a few more times to make sure it was perfect, Su Yang went to look for Zhang Ziu Ying, who was quietly cultivating inside her room. "Su Yang," Zhang Ziu Ying greeted him with a bright expression. "I have completed your technique," he said as he walked into her house. He then retrieved a scroll from his robes and extended it towards her. "The cultivation technique has no name for now, but if you want to give it a name, you can name it whatever you like. As for its grade, it's currently at the immortal grade, and it's about 100 times more effective compared to your old one. I wanted to make it at least the sovereign grade before giving it to you, but that would require you to wait a few more months, so I am giving it to you now to get you started. I will continue to improve the technique, and once I make it sovereign grade, I will give it to you. You refined a cultivation technique at the mortal grade to the immortal grade in less than a month. Is there anything in this world that you cannot do?" Zhang Ziu Ying accepted the technique with a dazed look. "But you really don't need to do so much for me, Su Yang. I am already more than satisfied with the cultivation technique being at the immortal grade," she said to him a moment later. "That won't be possible, as I always want the best for my woman." Su Yang shook his head with a smile. "Su Yang." Zhang Ziu Ying was speechless, as she was overwhelmed by his kindness and affection for her Chapter 531 Grand Formation after giving Zhang Ziu Ying her new cultivation technique. Su Yang stayed behind for a few more hours teaching her about the technique before returning to the Yin-Yang Pavilion. Once he arrived, Su Yang knocked on the door that was right beside his own room. A few moments later, Kit Yu appeared with raised eyebrows. "I am going to create a grand formation around the sect, but I will need your help," he said to her. Kit Yu looked at him with wide eyes and she spoke. "You want to create a grand formation for this place. Aren't you going a little bit overboard with that? A normal formation will be more than enough to protect this place for thousands of years. It's a waste of resources. Grand formations are advanced formations that combine three types of formations into a single grand formation, which usually consists of offensive formations, defensive formations, and restriction arrays. I know, but who knows what could happen when I am no longer in this place. I want to leave this place with my mind free of any worries, he said. You really care about this place, huh? Even though you don't really belong here. I wouldn't have cared as much if the other disciples never left the sect and I didn't take the position of sect master. Although I will not be here forever as the sect master, I have a responsibility to protect this place. Furthermore, this place is more than just another sect to me now, as I have personally invested too much into it. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to call this my own sect now. Even if you say that. Ku slightly frowned and continued, the extent of my knowledge with formations are only the basics. Even if you want me to, I do not have the capabilities to create a grand formation, so how do you want me to help? I only need your cultivation base to help me power the grand formation. As for the formation itself, I will personally deal with it. Ku nodded. By the way, where's Xiao Rong and Qin Liangyu? I haven't seen them in a while. Su Yang suddenly asked her. Who knows? Ever since that cat wanted to become more mature, junior sister Liangyu has been helping her. They are probably still going at it now. Junior sister Liangyu. Su Yang raised an eyebrow at the way she addressed Qin Liangyu as though they were close friends. When did the two of you become so friendly? That's. Ku suddenly recalled the time she secretly gave him a fetalio after hearing his words, causing her face to redden. Does it matter when it happened? She quickly responded. Su Yang smiled after seeing her reaction and he said, if you don't want to share it, then I won't force you. Anyway, I am going to get started with the grand formation now. After leaving Ku alone, Su Yang went to visit Liu Lanjai, who has been studying the techniques Su Yang gave her since she received them. You want to start creating the formation now? Liu Lanjai was surprised to hear it and she asked him, how long do you think it'll take? And do you need any help? It should be done in time before I have to check on the Dual Cultivation division in 2 weeks, he replied. That fast? Liu Lanjai exclaimed in a shocked voice. Don't formations normally take years, even decades to create, especially if it's large enough to cover an entire sect? Just how are you going to accomplish that in just 2 weeks? Su Yang shook his head and said, don't use your standards on me and don't compare me with the array masters in this world. It's like comparing someone who only recently started cultivation to a cultivation expert that has thousands of years of experience. Why, you're right. I don't know why I still think the logic of this world applies to you. Liu Lanjai nearly facepalmed herself. If she knew what Su Yang had in mind was not any ordinary formation, but a grand formation, something 100 times more complicated, her reactions would have been more shocking. In fact, grand formations don't even exist in this world yet, as there are no array masters with that knowledge. Then do you need any help? She then asked him. Yes, I will need you and the disciples to scatter spirit stones around the entire sect while I make the formation, he nodded. Oh, that's quite simple. How many spirit stones are we talking about? After a moment of silence, Su Yang responded with 3 fingers raised. 3 million spirit stones. She tilted her head. 300 million spirit stones, he said calmly. 300 million. Liu Lanjai cried out loud, her eyes and mouth wide open from shock. While the sect has over 500 million spirit stones available, which is more than enough, she didn't expect that half of it would disappear so quickly. 300 million spirit stones could easily support the sect for over 100 years, but to think that Su Yang would be willing to spend so many resources for a single formation. Are you sure the sect needs such an expensive formation protecting it, Su Yang? The Million Snakes sect is already gone, and I don't think anyone else would dare to attack us. Liu Lanjai asked him in a trembling voice, as she was having second thoughts after learning of the astronomical amount of resources that are required for the formation. It's better safe than to be sorry. Although the sect is safe for now, who's to say it will be safe 100, even 10 years from now? And it's only 300 million spirit stones. We still have plenty left afterward. Su Yang spoke with a calm expression. Even if we still have a lot of spirit stones afterward, spending 300 million spirit stones in one go is unheard of. Liu Lanjai sighed. Feeling a headache was quickly approaching her chapter 532, squandering spirit stones. After pondering for a few more moments, Liu Lanjai rubbed her temples and sighed out loud. If you truly believe that we need to spend that many spirit stones, then I have no objection. In the first place, all of those spirit stones belong to you, so you can spend them as you please. Su Yang nodded, and he handed her a map of the entire sect that showed all of the areas that needed to be covered in spirit stones. Sometime later, Liu Lanjai summoned all of the sect elders and disciples, even the junior disciples in the sect. Did something happen, sect master? Elder Sun asked her after everyone gathered. She nodded and spoke. I know that most of, if not all of you, are busy with your own cultivation, but I need all of your help with something, as it's not something a few people can achieve, and this is a personal request from Sect Master Su. Whatever the sect master needs, we will definitely help him to the best of our abilities, the junior disciples quickly said. Su Yang needs our help. Now this is something you don't see often. Elder Sun mumbled, as he was used to Su Yang doing everything by himself, and he continued, what do the sect masters have in mind? I'm glad you asked. A weird smile appeared on Liu Lanjai's face before she tossed a few hundred storage pouches before them. The disciples stared at the pile of storage pouches with puzzled expressions. Are they going shopping or something? What's with all these storage pouches? Do you need us to buy something, sect master? Sun Jingjing asked her. Not exactly, she quickly responded. There are a grand total of 300 million spirit stones in these storage pouches. What? 300 million spirit stones? When Liu Lanjai revealed to them their hidden wealth, the sect elders and disciples all jumped back in a shocked manner. Are you teasing us, sect master? Just where on earth did we suddenly obtain such massive wealth? Even if we sell this entire sect, it wouldn't be worth half of this, much less 300 million spirit stones. Elder Sun said to her with a dazed expression on his face, clearly in disbelief. You can check the storage pouches yourself, Elder Sun. I have no reason to lie to you. In fact, these spirit stones don't even belong to me. It was Su Yang who obtained them. Su Yang? Elder Sun remained dazed. Although it made more sense with Su Yang being behind this wealth, it still didn't explain how he obtained them. Compared to his wealth, even the Sun family, one of the richest families within the eastern continent, is not worth mentioning. Elder Sun cried inwardly. Liu Lanjai smiled after seeing the disciples' reaction. How would they react if they knew that these 300 million spirit stones is only half of what we currently have? I wonder, she asked herself. A few moments later, once their shock subdued, Fang Zhelin asked, what are we going to do with so many spirit stones, sect master? Don't die of shock when you hear this, but with these 300 million spirit stones, we are going to scatter them around the sect. Liu Lanjai said. Scatter them around the sect. I am not following. Fang Zhelin raised her eyebrows with a confused face. It was not just Fang Zhelin, as everyone there was puzzled as to why they would do such a thing. Su Yang is going to build a formation around the sect, and it requires a massive amount of spirit stones. But I have no experience regarding formations, so this is the extent of my knowledge, Liu Lanjai said. Even though it's for the sect's safety to spend 300 million spirit stones on a formation, I cannot say I agree with squandering this many spirit stones, Elder Sun sighed. feeling as though he'd aged a few years within the last few moments. "Can I try persuading him to change his mind?" he then asked. "I have already tried, but he appeared determined to build this formation." Save your breath, grandfather. Once Su Yang decides on something, he won't give up. And if he believes this formation is worth 300 million spirit stones, then I shall also believe in him. Ha ha. Elder Sun sighed again, but he could not refute Sun Jingjing's words, as he has never seen him change his mind after deciding on something. Sometime later, Elder Sun spoke. "I understand the situation, but how do we scatter them around the sect?" Hearing his question, Liu Lanjai picked up a storage pouch and grabbed a handful of spirit stones before scattering it on the floor as though it was bird food. The disciples there watched with wide eyes, as this is the most ridiculous thing they have ever seen. The word wasteful cannot even fully describe this situation. Just toss it around the sect as though you are feeding birds in a park, but focus on these areas more. Liu Lanjai then showed them the map and the locations that were marked. It needs to be done in 2 weeks, before Su Yang completes his preparations for the formation. Sometime later, each of the disciples picked up a storage pouch and began tossing the spirit stones everywhere. Although the disciples felt reluctant to scatter spirit stones around the sect as though it was trash, they couldn't disobey the sect master's request. As for those from a poor background before entering the sect, they were literally crying as the spirit stones left their hands and littered the floor. However, a few of the disciples actually enjoyed it, as it made them feel as though they were flaunting their wealth. Very quickly, spirit stones littered the sect, making it look like a treasure trove, and it was almost impossible to take a step inside the sect without stepping on some spirit stones. 2 weeks later, 300 million spirit stones were completely scattered around the entire sect, causing the place to emit a massive amount of profound Qi. Chapter 533, coming of age a few days before the Profound Blossom sect finished scattering 300 million spirit stones around the sect. A couple thousand miles away, in the Heavenly Swan sect, Su Yin approached her master Bai Lihua and said to her, "Master, I will be turning 16 in a few days, and I would like to celebrate my birthday and coming of age with my beloved brother. Oh, it feels like only last year when you joined the Heavenly Swan sect at 10 years of age. To think it's already been 6 long years. I can still remember how you dominated the outer court right after you joined. Anyway, congratulations on your birthday and becoming an official adult," Bai Lihua said to her. "Thank you, sect master," Su Yin replied with a smile. "You want to visit the Profound Blossom sect in Su Yang, right? Although it hasn't been long since their disciple examination ended, I want to see their progress, so I shall tag along with you," Bai Lihua said. Su Yin and Bai Lihua left the Heavenly Swan sect and began their journey to the Profound Blossom sect on the same day. Meanwhile, at the Profound Blossom sect, after the disciples have scattered all 300 million spirit stones, Liu Lanjai went to notify Su Yang. "We have set up all 300 million spirit stones as you'd requested. You can build the formation whenever, though I hope you'd hurry, as the entire sect is filled with so many spirit stones that we cannot even walk around without stepping on them," Liu Lanjai said to him. "I understand. I appreciate the disciples and your hard work. I will begin building the formation later today after. Let me know when you decide to build the formation, since I want to experience for myself how formations are created, as you rarely get to meet array masters, much less watch them work. Don't worry, I will definitely let you know. As a matter of fact, I will let every disciple know." After Liu Lanjai left his room, Su Yang went to get Kiyu. "The preparations are all complete. Once I create the grand formation, I will need you to do the final touches by activating the formation, completing it. Even though I am at the Divine Lord realm, it's going to be exhausting to activate a grand formation," she said to him with a calm expression. yet the light in her eyes was flicking with anticipation. Su Yang smiled after noticing the hint in her eyes, and he spoke, "Of course, I won't ask you to do it for free. What do you want in return? You are not trying to trick me into using the favor you still owe me with this, right?" Yu asked him with a doubtful gaze. "Ha ha ha." Su Yang laughed and he said, "I wouldn't do something like that to you." Yu nodded, and after standing there to ponder for a few moments, she spoke with a slightly red face. "You are good with your hands, right? I want you to give me a long massage afterward for helping you." "A massage, huh?" Su Yang expressed surprise after hearing her request, as he truly did not expect it. "Very well. I shall give you a message so good that it will leave an everlasting impression. You don't have to go overboard, you know. Just a normal one is good enough." It was Kiyu's turn to be surprised, as she did not expect him to take her request so seriously. As a matter of fact, she was afraid of losing control of her own emotions and desire because of the massage. "There's no need to be humble. I will definitely make sure all the stress from activating the grand formation will go away after the massage." But right as Kyu opened her mouth, Liu Lanjai's voice resounded from the outside. "Su Yang, sect master Bai Lihua and your sister Su Yin are here for you." "I will be right there," Su Yang said. "Anyway, you can look forward to it." He then said to Kyu before leaving her alone, "Did I dig myself a hole with that request?" She mumbled in a dazed voice after Su Yang disappeared. Meanwhile, a sect elder from the profound Blossom sect welcomed Bai Lihua and Su Yin into the sect. However, when the two beauties first entered the sect and saw the spirit stones that littered everywhere on the floor like trash, they were shocked dumb. What on earth happened here? Why are there so many spirit stones on the ground? Are you by any chance doing a ritual of some sort?" Bai Lihua asked the sect elder, who responded with a weird smile on her face. "This is Su Yang's idea. He plans on building a formation for the sect, and this is the preparation for that." A formation. The Heavenly Swan sect also has a formation protecting the sect, but we didn't have to do something like this, Bai Lihua said. Hearing such words, the sect elder did not know how to respond and merely shook her head. As Bai Lihua and Su Yin entered deeper into the sect and saw even more spirit stones, their shock grew stronger. Good heavens, how many spirit stones did it cost them to make such a grand scenery? Bai Lihua wondered to herself, still unaware of the amount of spirit stones used. Even though Bai Lihua is the sect master of a renowned elite sect, she cannot help but have itchy hands after seeing so many spirit stones scattered freely before her, almost as though they were begging for her to take them. Sometime later, Su Yang appeared before them. "Elder brother." Su Yin's face immediately brightened after seeing him. She wanted to run to his side and embrace him, but alas, there were simply too many spirit stones in the way for her to run anywhere. Therefore, she could only slowly approach him. Once Su Yang was within arm's reach, Su Yin immediately lunged her body at him, followed by a passionate embrace. Chapter 534 Golden Sword Grand Formation. I had expected to be surprised today, but I didn't expect that it would be this kind of surprise. You have truly outdone yourself this time, Su Yang. Bai Lihua said to him, her gaze still lingering on the spirit stones that filled the place. "Just how many spirit stones is this?" she suddenly asked him out of curiosity. 300 million, he calmly responded. "Wah," Bai Lihua looked at him with her eyes as wide as saucers. "Why, you must be joking, right? 300 million spirit stones. Where in the world did you obtain so many spirit stones? The regional tournament only gave you 10 million. "My side job," he replied with a smile. What kind of side job could possibly bring in hundreds of millions of spirit stones? If possible, she would like to get in on it too. "Are you interested?" Su Yang noticed the curiosity in her eyes and said. "And not particularly, besides it sounds incredibly suspicious," she quickly responded. "Who knows what I have to do? Perhaps it requires one to sacrifice their own body." "Brother, you shouldn't get involved with something so dangerous." Su Yin also expressed her concern for him. Su Yang chuckled after hearing their words and said, "Don't worry, it's nothing suspicious or dangerous. Anyway, what are you here for? I doubt you came all the way here just to see me. Actually, the one who wanted to see you was Su Yin, and I am merely interested in the profound Blossom sect's progress." Bai Lihua said. Su Yin then spoke, "Beloved elder brother, do you know what day tomorrow is?" "Tomorrow?" Su Yang raised an eyebrow. When he saw the anticipation in Su Yin's eyes, he showed a slight smile and said, "I see. So you are finally an adult, huh?" "That's right. It's my coming of age tomorrow, and I want to celebrate it with you," she said with a bright expression. "It's your birthday, but I haven't prepared any presents yet. It seems I have failed as an elder brother," he said with an apologetic smile. "Don't say something like that, elder brother. You are the best brother one could ever ask for. And I don't need any presents for my birthday, as spending time with you is already more than enough for me." Su Yang showed a bittersweet smile after hearing her innocent words. In truth, the elder brother that Su Yin truly loves was Su Yang from before he regained his memories as an immortal. Ever since he regained his memories, besides buying her a treasure at Snowfall City, he hasn't really done anything that could be considered brotherly. He could reveal the truth to her, but he did not want to crush Su Yin's feelings by knowing that the brother she loves is no longer in this world. "Even if you say that you don't need a present since it's your birthday and the most important one in your life at that, I should give you something. Is there anything you want in particular?" Su Yang said to her. "Give me some time to think about it," she said a moment later. He nodded and continued, "Anyway, I am about to build the formation. Do you want to watch its creation? It's not something you will see very often, if ever again. It's only a formation, right? Although they are definitely not commonly seen, it's not as though there are no other array masters out there," Bai Lihua said. Su Yang merely smiled and said, "You will understand it once you witness it." Sometime later, Su Yang summoned all of the disciples to gather in the middle of the sect. Once they all gathered, he said, "I should first thank you all for your efforts these past 2 weeks, or the preparations would have taken much longer. Now, I shall let you bear witness the fruits of your labor." He then retrieved 3 scrolls with extremely complicated patterns written on them and placed them on the floor, directly in the center of the entire sect. Afterward, he sat before them in the lotus position and closed his eyes. Silence filled the place, and the people there watched with high anticipation. A few minutes later, a tremendous aura exploded from Su Yang's body, and the 3 scrolls emitted a golden light in reaction to the aura. A few more moments later, Su Yang opened his eyes, and he shouted in a voice that echoed throughout the entire sect, "Golden Sword Grand Formation." Boom! The 3 golden scrolls immediately shot up into the sky before falling back down around the sect, creating 3 enormous golden pillars that surrounded the profound Blossom sect. The disciples watched in awe, their eyes and mouths wide open. A few moments later, Su Yang slapped the ground with his hand, causing the entire sect to shake and the spirit stones that scattered around the sect to jump. When the spirit stones returned to the ground, they all glowed a bright light, and all of the profound chi stored within the 300 million spirit stones that scattered around the sect rushed towards the 3 golden pillars, causing them to brighten even further. Once the golden pillars finished absorbing all of the profound chi from the spirit stones turned into dust before being carried away by a strong gust of wind that appeared out of the blue. "Ku, activate the grand formation," Su Yang suddenly shouted. The moment Su Yang's voice disappeared, another enormous spirit energy appeared within the sect. Where is this spiritual energy coming from? The people there expressed deep fear after sensing Ku's tyrannical spiritual energy, as it was unlike anything they have felt before. Meanwhile, the 3 golden pillars reacted to Ku's spiritual energy, by exploding into countless pieces with each fragment exactly 30 inches in length and 3 inches wide. And if one looked closely, these fragments all had the appearance of a sword. Once the 3 golden pillars were gone, the hundreds of thousands of golden swords hovering in the sky began to move. A few minutes later, the golden swords surrounded the entire profound blossom sect in a uniform manner, forming an enormous golden barrier that protected every corner of the sect. Once the grand formation was completed, the golden swords in the sky turned invisible, almost as though the entire thing was all but an illusion. Chapter 535 Near-Death Experience, and it's finished, Su Yang said as he casually stood up after completing the grand formation. However, the disciples there remained standing still with dazed expressions on their faces, almost like they saw something unbelievable. What the hell did you just do, Su Yang? Bai Lihua exclaimed a few moments later, her voice filled with shock. What kind of formation did you create? I was there as a witness when the Array Masters created a formation for the Heavenly Swan sect, but it looked nothing like this. More importantly, what was that immense amount of spiritual energy just now? It felt like a cultivator's spiritual energy. Of course, it's different from your average formation. After all, it's a grand formation that consists of 3 different superior formations, he calmly responded. As for the spiritual energy you felt, I had requested assistance from a close friend. A grand formation. Bai Lihua was dumbfounded, as this is a term she has never heard of before until today. Just like cultivation techniques, there are multiple ranks of formations, and the easiest and least profound are the basic formations. Slightly more complicated and harder to create are grand formation, which requires the combination of 3 different basic formations. After that, we have the divine formations, which will require 3 different grand formations. Su Yang explained to her. While there are even more complicated formations than divine formations, it was pointless to mention it to her, as grand formations are already far beyond this world's knowledge. Want to test its abilities? Su Yang suddenly asked her, who stared at him with wide eyes. How are we supposed to do that? She asked. Attack me as though you are actually trying to kill me, he calmly said. You want me to attack you with the intent to kill, are you sure? What? Are you scared? Su Yang smiled at her provocatively. Now you've said it. Bai Lihua suddenly retrieved a beautiful white sword from her storage ring and rushed at him with killing intent. However, before she could even reach him, the golden swords that had been invisible suddenly reappeared, and over 100 golden swords flew at Bai Lihua, creating many streaks of golden trails in the sky as they traveled. Bai Lihua's life flashes right before her eyes, as she couldn't even react to them, much less defend herself from them. Bang, bang, bang. Suddenly, the golden swords exploded simultaneously, right when they were a hair-width away from taking her life. Bai Lihua dropped to her knees afterward, her body soaked in cold sweat. That was the closest she has ever been to death, and it was a fearful feeling that could not be described by mere words. If the swords did not explode, her life would have definitely been forfeited. Are you trying to kill me, you bastard? Bai Lihua shouted at him in an angry voice a few moments later after catching her breath. Of course not. I only wanted to show you the abilities of the grand formation. So how was it? How was it, my ass? You didn't need to humiliate me in front of so many juniors for it, she exclaimed. Su Yang showed a bitter smile and said, but that was barely 1% of the grand formation's full power. I truly did not intend to humiliate you. That was barely 1%. Bai Lihua's jaw dropped upon hearing this. It was at this moment she realized that out of the hundreds of thousands of swords in the grand formation, only 100 golden swords had attacked her, so Su Yang wasn't exaggerating about it being 1% of the grand formation's true abilities. How about this? As an apology for upsetting you, I will help the Heavenly Swan sect by refining its formation, he then said. "Eh, really?" Bai Lihua's eyes flickered with a delight after hearing his words, and her anger quickly disappeared like smoke. He nodded. "I won't lie to you in front of so many people." "Good. If you want forgiveness from me, then you better do as you promised, or I will never forgive you." Sometime later, once the shock slowly died down, Liu Lanjai asked him, "Su Yang, can you explain to me how this grand formation functions?" "It's quite simple, really. The moment someone that's not a disciple of the sect attacks one of our disciples within the sect, the grand formation will automatically activate and erase the attacker, as it had demonstrated with sect elder Bai. However, you can also activate it manually if needed. There are a total of 1,111,111 golden swords in the grand formation, and each of these golden swords are as powerful as a peak-quality heaven-grade spiritual treasure, with a few even surpassing that. If that's not enough, the grand formation also has a defensive mechanism that blocks all attacks from outside of the sect. Even if 1,000 heavenly spirit realm experts attack the grand formation at the same time, they would not even put a dent in it. There's also a detection mechanism that once it detects an intruder who's neither a disciple or a guest, it immediately alerting all of the sect elders. Liu Lanjai and the others listened to his explanation with a dazed face, seemingly in disbelief. Unbelievable, to think such a complicated and profound formation exists in this world. Just where on earth did you learn this knowledge? Elder Sun asked him, his eyes filled with interest and suspicion. Su Yang merely waved his hand and said, "If you read enough books, you will eventually learn a thing or two about everything in this world. Anyway, the grand formation is now complete, making the Profound Blossom sect the safest place in this world at this moment. And as long as you stay within the sect, you don't have to worry about any potential danger. Even if the entire world attacks us at once, not a single hair on your body will be harmed as long as you are within the grand formation." Su Yang said to them chapter 536, The Ancestors Inters, while Su Yang explained to the disciples the grand formation's abilities. Unbeknownst to everyone in the Profound Blossom sect, the entire eastern continent was in an uproar at this moment. Because of the profound chi released by the 300 million spirit stones, and the spiritual energy emitted by Kyu when activating the grand formation, everybody in a 10,000-mile radius felt the unnatural and immense amount of spiritual energy, causing them to believe that a very powerful spiritual treasure was being born in the area. News of this spiritual treasure quickly spread throughout the eastern continent like a massive wildfire, and within an hour, nearly every big family and sect were aware of the situation. And within minutes after hearing this news, these renowned families and powerful sects began sending their experts to find the spiritual treasure, hoping they would be the ones to find it first. In most cases, regardless of whoever finds the spiritual treasure first, fights would still occur between different factions, as people would often run into their enemies during these searches. "Your Majesty, the search team is ready to deploy and awaits your command." Although the Zai family rules over the eastern continent, they do not dare to claim spiritual treasures that are naturally born theirs without working for it like everyone else, as that would instantly destroy their public image as rulers, so they must also send out their own search party. "Your Majesty," the leader of the Zai family's search group looked at Lord Zai with a puzzled expression when he did not respond after some time. "Dismiss the search party. We will not be participating in this one," he said in a grim voice. "What? But rumors say it could be a spiritual treasure at the mythical divine grade from the legends that surpasses even the heaven grade, and a spiritual treasure of that grade does not exist in this world yet. This could be the first one in this world," the man said to him in a puzzled voice. If they ignore this massive opportunity and miss out on the divine-grade spiritual treasure, they will surely regret it. I know it will be a massive loss to us, but have you forgotten who lives in that area? Lord Zai said to him with a frown. If I recall correctly, the profound blossom sect should be in that area. But even if the spiritual treasure happened to be born within their property, they cannot claim it for themselves, nor can they send away those who wish to search for it, as normal rules no longer apply after the birth of any spiritual treasure. The man said to him, My father's concern is not for the profound blossom sect, but for the individual that belongs to the profound blossom sect instead. Another voice suddenly resounded in the room. Your Highness! Zinger, Zai Zingfeng approached them after entering the scene. If the spiritual treasure appeared within the profound blossom sect's territory, there's not the slightest chance that he wouldn't notice it, she said a moment later. Who is this person your Highness is referring to? The man was still confused. Su Yang, said Lord Zai, the #1 genius who reached the heavenly spirit realm before he even reached 18 years old. That's Su Yang. Although his talent is indeed very frightening, he's only a junior. Lord Zai shook his head and spoke. Do not underestimate him just because of his age, or you will regret it one day. Despite all of the information we have on him, that man has an unfathomably deep and unknown background. I wouldn't be surprised even if the spiritual treasure is already in his hands as we speak, he continued. Impossible, the man mumbled with a dumbfounded face. Even if there's a chance that he still hasn't obtained the spiritual treasure, he will still be a few steps ahead of everyone else, and he will inevitably have the last laughs. The man was deeply shocked by Lord Zai's immensely high evaluation of Su Yang, almost like he was praising a god of some sort. Therefore, dismiss the search team. I won't repeat myself again. We will not participate in this search, Lord Zai said to the man with a stern expression. As your majesty commands. The man bowed to him before leaving the room. So, why have you come here? Lord Zai turned to look at his daughter afterward. Zai Zingfeng smiled and said, Father, I would like to visit the profound blossom sect. Why? He quickly frowned. You were there not long ago during their disciple examination. I know, but I have a feeling that something big might have happened at the profound blossom sect. And if the rumors are true that a divine-grade spiritual treasure has appeared, I want to see it for myself, she responded calmly. I only agreed to let you outside the last time because Elder Zhang was by your side. I have recently received news of the Moonlight Blade's activity increasing, and there's still the problem with the poison in your body. I cannot agree to let you out this time. I hope you understand, he said to her. However, Zai Zingfeng remained stubborn and said, if the Moonlight Blade is truly increasing their activities, then it would make more sense for me to travel to the profound blossom sect and seek asylum there, as I feel much safer around Su Yang than I do with the guards in our family. Are you saying that the profound blossom sect can protect you better than your own family? Lord Zai quickly frowned. That's exactly what I am saying, Father. Although I do not blame you for not understanding his prowess because you were not there to witness him defeating Fu Quan and the demonic blood serpent, Su Yang is already stronger than esteemed grandfather, much less you, Father. Zai Zingfeng said to him with a serious expression. You, Lord Zai's face quickly reddened from anger. However, another voice suddenly resounded in the room, and it was filled with laughter. Since my beloved granddaughter said so, I will also believe it. Father. Lord Zai was surprised by the ancestor's appearance. My interest in Su Yang has been through the roof recently, and I would like to get to know him better, so I will accompany Zinger to the profound blossom sect. There shouldn't be any problem if I went along with her, right? Unless you are worried that I cannot protect her, said the old man as he entered the room, dumbfounding both Lord Zai and Zai Zingfeng. Chapter 537 Another World. You want to follow R to the profound blossom sect, Father. Lord Zai looked at him with wide eyes. as Zai Wang, his father, hasn't really left Snowfall City for many decades. Are you against it? Zai Wang looked at him with narrowed eyes, causing his body to tremble in fear. Although he may have the appearance of a kind old man right now, Zai Wang used to rule over the eastern continent with an iron fist as one of the most powerful cultivators in this world, not to mention his strict parenting. However, ever since Zai Xingfeng was born, Zai Wang became a kind old man and treated her as though she was a priceless treasure, spoiling her to no end, which would often make Lord Zai jealous. I wouldn't dare to object to you, father. If you wish to accompany Zinger to the profound Blossom sect, then I would no longer have a reason to worry about her safety, Lord Zai said to him with a forced smile. Good. Now then, when do you want to leave, Zinger? Zai Wang turned to ask her. We can leave now, she quickly responded. When do you plan on coming back? Lord Zai asked her a moment later. I don't know, but if the Moonlight Blades are increasing their activities, then I will probably stay there until things have calmed down, she said after a moment of pondering. Lord Zai was speechless, as he didn't really think that Zai Xingfeng would find the profound Blossom sect much safer than her own home, a place guarded by an entire army. Sometime later, Zai Xingfeng and Zai Wang left Snowfall City and began their travel to the profound Blossom sect. Thank you for coming with me, grandfather, Zai Xingfeng said to him with a bright smile afterward. If it weren't for you, it would have required much more effort to change my father's mind. Zai Wang laughed and said, Ha ha ha, don't even mention it. I will do anything for my beloved granddaughter. And he continued, anyway, I am really interested in this young man, Su Yang. I have only met him a handful of times, but he always gives me the impression of someone with an almighty and otherworldly background, almost like he does not belong to this world. Perhaps you are right, grandfather. Su Yang's talent is wasted in this small place. If there is another world out there, one that's even more formidable and profound than this one, who knows how much he'll grow? Zai Xingfeng said with her gaze filled with wonder. Another world, huh? That reminds me of immortal Han Xin, who is said to be from another world. Zai Wang mumbled. Is that true, grandfather? Zai Xingfeng's eyes flickered with interest. Yes. It was a rumor that did not linger for long when I was a young man. Zinger, this universe is unfathomably large, even endless. In such an enormous universe, I wouldn't be surprised if there were other worlds beyond our heavens and somewhere in the starry sky. Ever since I reached the sovereign spirit realm, I cannot help but wonder what's beyond the heavens. There is this unscratchable itch inside my heart that longs to travel the starry sky, but alas, with my power, it's only but a childish dream. Zai Wang spoke in a solemn voice as he stared at the sky, seemingly filled with regret. However, unbeknownst to him, even in the four divine heavens, where all of the most powerful cultivators in this universe gather, there exists only a handful of experts that have the ability to transverse the starry sky without the assistance of divine spiritual treasures. Meanwhile, back at the profound Blossom sect, after explaining the grand formation's functions to the people before him, Su Yang dismissed the disciples, returning them to their training. What are the two of you going to do now? Su Yang asked Bai Lihua and Su Yin afterward. If you wish to stay in the sect for a few days, I will immediately arrange your living quarters. Su Yin's birthday is not until tomorrow, so we will stay here for a day or two at the very least. After that, we will see if we want to remain for any longer. Bai Lihua said to him, Elder brother, can I live with you during my stay here? It's been a very long time since we have slept in the same room together, Su Yin suddenly said to him with a pleading expression. Even if you are my sister, the Yin-Yang Pavilion is not a place for guests. He shook his head. Please, Su Yin looked at him with eyes that seemed to be on the verge of tearing up. I don't see any issue with that, Su Yang. Just let her stay with you, Liu Lanjai suddenly interrupted them. Are you sure? Su Yang asked her. Liu Lanjai nodded and spoke. The Yin-Yang Pavilion used to be a sacred building that can only house the sect masters, but that kind of tradition is already history. After all, it's already occupying a few guests at this moment. As of this moment, not counting Xiao Rong, whose presence is still undisclosed to Liu Lanjai, 2 other individuals besides the sect masters resided in the Yin-Yang Pavilion, and they were Qin Liang Yu and Ke Yu. Well, since you say so. Su Yang nodded and then said to Su Yin, "All right, you can stay with me for the time being." "Thank you, elder brother, thank you, sect leader Liu," Su Yin bowed to her. "What about you? Do you also want to stay in the Yin-Yang Pavilion, Senior Bai?" Liu Lanjai asked Bai Lihua, who nodded. "If you don't mind having me too." "Then it's decided. There are plenty of rooms in the place, so you can pick any room that fancies you." "Thank you, sect leader Liu." Sometime later, Su Yang brought the guests to the Yin-Yang Pavilion. However, when they arrived, they were blocked by an incredibly beautiful lady standing by the entrance. When Su Yin and Bai Lihua saw this woman, their eyes widened with shock. "Why, you are..." Su Yin immediately recognized Ke Yu, as she still owes her an apology for insulting her during her visit to the Su family many months ago. Chapter 538 Su Yin's apology. That person is. Bai Lihua also recognized Ke Yu at glance, as her appearance at the regional tournament had left an everlasting impression in her heart. What's she doing here?" Ke Yu pointed at Su Yin with her sharp gaze, clearly displeased by her presence, as she still remembers how Su Yin had insulted her, calling her a vixen who seduced Su Yang. I am sorry." Su Yin suddenly stepped forward and apologized to Ke Yu with a deep bow. "Due to my frustration on that day, I had mistaken you as some vixen who kidnapped and seduced my elder brother, even going as far as attacking you. I do not blame you for disliking me, nor am I expecting any forgiveness from you, but I just want you to know that I have realized my mistake, and I am giving you my sincere apology." Su Yin. Bai Lihua watched the scene with wide eyes, as this is her first time seeing Su Yin acting in such a behavior. "Forgive her, won't you?" Su Yang also said with a smile on his face. Ke Yu remained speechless even many moments later. Although she didn't appear to like Su Yin, even appearing to dislike her, the truth was that Ke Yu admired, even envied Su Yin for having the courage to express her love for Su Yang so openly despite their relationship as blood siblings. Compared to herself, who cannot even express her love for Su Yang without being embarrassed by it, Su Yin was much superior. What made Ke Yu feel even worse was the disparity between their ages. One would expect someone who has lived for thousands of years to have at least enough courage to embrace their loved ones without feeling any shame, yet she was unable to do even that. And somehow, Su Yin, who will reach her coming of age tomorrow, can already do what she cannot. Just thinking about it made Ke Yu's heart filled with anger. However, the anger was not directed at Su Yin but rather herself for being mentally weak, an inexcusable weakness for any cultivator. Sometime later, Ke Yu spoke with a calm expression. "Relax, I am not such a petty person that I cannot forgive some junior for disrespecting me because of a misunderstanding. And you are also Su Yang's younger sister. I cannot stay mad at you forever even if I wanted to." "Thank you, senior sister." Su Yin lifted her head with a bright expression after hearing Ke Yu's words. "Anyway, what are you doing standing at the entrance like you are waiting for someone?" Su Yang then asked her. "HMPH, did you already forget, Su Yang? I have helped you activate the grand formation, so it's time for you to keep your end of the bargain." Ke Yu said to him. "What? So that immense amount of spiritual energy belonged to her?" Bai Lihua cried inwardly, as it finally made enough sense for her to comprehend the situation. "Ha ha ha," Su Yang suddenly laughed, and he said, "There's no need to be so impatient, Ke Yu. What are you afraid of? That I will run away after you activate the formation?" That's..." Keyu's face flushed with redness when she realized that she was acting too impatient because of overexcitement, making a fool out of herself. "But since you went out of your way to wait for me at the door, I will quickly return the favor," Su Yang said before looking at Liu Lanjai and asked her, "Can I bother you for a bit longer?" Liu Lanjai nodded with a smile and she said, "Little sister Senior Bai, please follow me. I shall show you your rooms." "Thank you," Su Yang said to her before entering the yin-yang pavilion with Keiyu. Once they were gone, Bai Lihua asked Liu Lanjai, "Sect leader Liu, who on earth is that senior?" "I thought she was Su Yang's master, but after seeing the way they interact with each other, I cannot see such a relationship between them." Liu Lanjai then responded, "Even though we live in the same building, I don't know much about her or her relationship with Su Yang. However, you are right when you say they are not in a master and disciple relationship. Don't tell me she's Su Yang's the real one," Bai Lihua suddenly said with her pinky finger raised, indicating that Keiyu was his main lover. Both Su Yin and Liu Lanjai looked at her with wide eyes. Although such an idea may seem impossible at first, when they recall Su Yang's character and his playboy nature, it no longer seemed out of the question. Anyway, let me show you the rooms." Liu Lanjai brought the two of them inside the yin-yang pavilion a few minutes later. Sometime later, they stood before Su Yang's room. "This is your brother's room. There's only one bed, but it's big enough to fit 4 people. Though if you wish to sleep on another bed, I can put one inside temporarily," Liu Lanjai said to Su Yin, who quickly shook her head. "This is perfect, sect leader Liu. I won't accept sleeping anywhere but my brother's side while I am here. Even when he used to live at the Su family's household, we would often share the bed." Su Yin spoke with a beautiful smile on her face as she recalled the past. "Then I won't bother you any longer." Once Su Yin entered Su Yang's room, Liu Lanjai said to Bai Lihua, "Besides the room across from and besides Su Yang's room, they are all available so you can choose any that's to your liking." "Thank you for the hospitality, sect leader Liu," Bai Lihua said to her. "If you ever decide to visit the Heavenly Swan sect, we will try our best to serve you." "Thank you in advance. I will keep that in mind when I do visit," Liu Lanjai said with a smile. Meanwhile, inside the Keiyu's room that was right next to where they were standing, Keiyu laid on the bed with her back facing the ceiling and her body fully naked, while Su Yang sat behind her with a slightly surprised expression on his face. Chapter 539 Body's Natural Reaction. After Keiyu returned to her own room with Su Yang by her side, she immediately began loosening her robes. Chem. Su Yang raised his eyebrows in a surprised manner when he saw her stripping so suddenly. After removing her robes, Keiyu continued to take off her undergarments, until her body was completely bare. Once she was naked, Keiyu casually laid on the bed silently. Su Yang stared at Keiyu's peerless body and her smooth skin that was as pure and pale as snow. And because she was naked, her beautiful and mellow buttocks were completely out in the open. Su Yang silently swallowed after seeing her otherworldly body that was akin to the moon's unparalleled beauty under the night sky. Even though this is not his first time seeing her bare body, this is the first time he's taking the time to admire its beauty and grace. And amongst the countless women he's experienced, Keiyu was definitely at the top in terms of beauty and appearance. "What are you waiting for? Hurry up and massage me already." Activating the grand formation was exhausting even for me. Although her voice sounded calm, Su Yang easily noticed the slight tremble in her tone, and her face would definitely appear red if he could see it. Then excuse me." He cleared his throat before approaching the bed. Once he could reach her body with his hands, Su Yang used his fingers to gently comb her shining silver hair to the side, revealing her pure back and shoulders. When Su Yang moved her hair and accidentally stroked her back with his fingers, Keiyu's body trembled slightly from surprise. "Relax your body." Su Yang's gentle voice resounded as his warm palms slowly laid on her smooth skin. After taking a few moments to let her body familiarize itself with the feeling of his touch, Su Yang's hands began moving. Ah tilde. A small moan accidentally escaped Keyu's voice when Su Yang's fingers pressed at her body. Kyu quickly tightened her mouth when she realized that she just moaned so erotically, her face flushed with redness. However, Su Yang said to her, "There's no need to hold back. This is a massage, and it is my responsibility to pleasure you. Let your body relax and allow your voice to naturally flow. It will make the experience much more enjoyable." After hearing his words, Kyu loosened her jaws and allowed her voice to express the pleasure within her body. Ah tilde, ah tilde, Kyu's heavenly voice quickly filled the room, whilst her body was overwhelmed by pleasure. Meanwhile, Su Yang's hands worked from her shoulders to her back, before slowly approaching her slender legs. Tilde. When one of Su Yang's fingers suddenly grazed near the wet slit between her legs slightly as he massaged her legs, Kyu's body reacted by releasing a plentiful amount of yin qi through her cave. Oh, once she realized that she just climaxed in front of Su Yang, Kyu wanted to immediately stop the massage and jump into a hole and bury herself from embarrassment. However, Su Yang's hands were firmly massaging her legs, restricting her movements with pleasure. There's no need to feel ashamed of your body's natural reaction for pleasure. It would be weird if it didn't react the way it did, he said to her with a smile. That doesn't make me feel any better. Kyu cried inwardly, as she was too embarrassed to speak out loud at this moment. As Su Yang continued to massage her body, Kyu's body gradually became hotter and hotter, until every cell in her body was screaming in pleasure. Sometime later, Su Yang asked her, "I have finished massaging the back. Would you like to do the front too?" Kyu remained silent for many minutes until she finally nodded her head very slowly and subtly. After a few more moments of stillness, Kyu slowly turned her body around, revealing everything but her face to him, as she had both of her arms crossed over it. However, that bashful look only made her posture even more alluring and beautiful. Su Yang took a moment to admire her body again. Her ample breasts were perfectly shaped with the nipples a beautiful light pink. Below her breasts was a flawlessly shaped and slender body. Su Yang's gaze then fell upon her birthmark that was below her belly button and was shaped into a crescent, just like the moon. And slightly below her birthmark was an impeccably clean and smooth pair of lips. "Stop leering at my body already, you pervert," Kyu mumbled in a mosquito-like voice when Su Yang was seemingly dazed by her body. Su Yang merely smiled and said, "I cannot help it as it's incredibly beautiful." Bibo. Kyu's face flushed even more after hearing his remarks. However, as beautiful and enticing as Kyu's body was to Su Yang, it was also a treasure that he cannot fully enjoy due to the curse of her bloodline. "I will begin now," he said to her before touching her stomach a moment later. Ah! Kyu's body trembled at even the slightest touch. Su Yang's hands then slowly moved up to her breasts, where he began massaging every corner of it. Ah tilde, Kyu tightly grasped her fists as her arms were slowly loosening itself, and close to revealing the current expression on her face. Seeing her tremendous efforts to cover her face, Su Yang decided to make it his mission to have her reveal her face through his massage. "Ah!" Kyu cried out loud when Su Yang's fingers gently pinched her hard nipples, causing her body to suddenly climax again. However, Kyu did not utter any complaints and continued to moan out loud. A few minutes later, Su Yang moved his hands from her breasts to her thighs, where he massaged the area close to her bottom lips without touching it, purposefully avoiding it to tease her body. And for the next hour, Su Yang would continue to tease the places around her soaking wet little sister without actually touching it, until Kyu could no longer resist her desires, and finally lowered her arms, revealing to him the highly lustful expression on her face. Thank you for listening to the story on KevinAudio.com, Chapter 540, Nearly Losing Self-Control. If you look at me with such a face, it's going to make things difficult even for me, you know. Su Yang said to Kyu after seeing her aroused expression. After moving her arms out of her face's way, Kyu's hands reached to grab Su Yang's hand. Please, stop bullying me already, father. Just let this end, she asked him in a pleading voice, her eyes filled with desire. Seeing her lustful face, Su Yang smiled and he said, If I could, I would not hesitate to embrace you at this very moment. However, due to obvious issues, I must resist these urges that are burning within my heart. This may not be what you want, but I hope it's enough to please you for the moment. After saying those words, Su Yang slipped one of his fingers into Kyu's wet cave, causing her to moan loudly. Her legs also opened widely, allowing space for his hands to move freely. And Tilda, Kyu's heavenly voice echoed in the room as Su Yang finger-fucked her tight cave. Once she began getting used to his fingers, Su Yang slipped another finger inside, whilst his thumbs gently rubbed her pink pearl. Ah, Kyu moaned as though she was actually having sex with Su Yang with her body soaked in sweat and yin qi. More. Kyu pleaded for more as her gaze stared at Su Yang's handsome face. And in response to her pleading, Su Yang began moving his fingers even more intensively. Kyu's lower cave gushed with yin qi, and she herself was feeling lightheaded from climaxing so many times to Su Yang's fingers. Sometime later, when her passion had reached its peak, Kyu looked at Su Yang and spoke in a dazed manner. I love you, Daddy. Su Yang's eyebrows twitched upon hearing Kyu call him Daddy, and he turned to look at her. However, it appeared that Kyu was too absorbed to realize what she just said, as she continued to moan in pleasure without restraint. Kyu, Su Yang suddenly called for her. When Kyu looked at him again, Su Yang suddenly stretched his neck and kissed her on the lips, whilst his fingers were still thrusting into her cave. Kyu's eyes snapped wide open at first, but as they continued to kiss, her eyes gradually closed again, allowing her to become fully absorbed in their intimacy. A few minutes later, Su Yang withdrew his head and licked his lips in a seductive manner. Kyu stared at him while panting heavily, her gaze telling him that she wanted more. After giving her some time to breathe, Su Yang's lips connected with hers again. Their tongues bonded intimately, almost like two snakes curling against each other. Many minutes later, Kyu experiences her biggest climax yet with yin qi spraying out of her cave like a broken water pipe. And immediately after exhausting her yin qi, Kyu's conscience also left her body, causing her to fall asleep. Once Su Yang realized that she'd lost consciousness, he stopped touching her and covered her body with new sheets that were not soaked in her yin qi. However, he remained standing by her side even many minutes later, silently staring at her beautiful and satisfied face. It has been a long time since I last lost control over my own body and urges. He thought to himself as he looked down at his little brother, which was bulging through his robes, looking as though it wanted to tear through his clothes and enter Kyu's body. If their intimate moments had lasted any longer, perhaps he might have truly given in to his sexual desires and penetrated Kyu for real. However, the thought of harming her for his own desire was what kept his urges from exploding. I need to calm down. Su Yang proceeded to sit on the floor in the lotus position and cleared his mind. A few minutes later, he began absorbing the yin qi that filled the room. After absorbing all of the yin qi, Su Yang could feel his cultivation base reaching a new level, entering the 6th level heavenly spirit realm. Once he was in complete control over his sexual urges again, Su Yang turned to look at Kyu, who was still sound asleep even many hours later. After staring at her face for a few more minutes, he left her room and returned to his own room. Elder brother, what took you so long? I almost fell asleep while waiting for you to return, Su Yin said to him from the bed. "Sorry, I had some business to attend to," he said with an apologetic smile. "Were you with that senior the entire time? What did you do with her?" she asked him with a curious gaze. "I owed her a favor for helping me with the grand formation, so I was helping her with her request," he calmly responded. Then what is your relationship with her? Could she be your lover?" Su Yin suddenly asked him. "My lover, huh? I guess you can call her that," he said with a slight smile, not denying it. Su Yin looked at him with a dazed face, seemingly speechless by his response. Even though she kind of expected that to be the situation, it still caused her heart to tremble. "Anyway, it's getting late and I am exhausted after helping her, so I am going to sleep early today. You should sleep early too, as tomorrow is a big day for you," Su Yang said. Su Yin nodded and made some space for him on the bed. Once the lights were out and they were both underneath the blankets, Su Yin said in a low voice, "It's been so long since we have slept together, elder brother. When you disappeared, I didn't think that I would get to feel your warmth again." Su Yin slowly moved her body closer to Su Yang and cuddled him tightly. "I love you, elder brother," she mumbled before quickly falling asleep. Su Yang showed a warm smile before also going to sleep a few minutes later. A few hours later, once it was past midnight, Su Yin's eyes suddenly opened. "I have been waiting many, many years for this day, when I am finally an adult," she thought to herself as she turned to look at the sleeping Su Yang beside her with a resolute expression on her face. Chapter 541, Su Yin's Birthday Disclaimer and Content Warning. This chapter is purely fan service for Su Yang and Su Yin. It will not have any effect on the plot, nor will you miss anything if you decide to skip it because of its content. Again, if you don't want to see such content, just skip it. Ha, elder brother. Su Yin panted as she slowly pushed away the blankets and looked at Su Yang's sleeping face, her gaze filled with affection and lust. A few moments later, she began removing his clothes. Under normal circumstances, Su Yang would immediately notice her unnatural movements and wake up, but due to using the majority of his profound qi to massage Kyu, he was deeply asleep from exhaustion. Meanwhile, Su Yin continued to remove his clothes, thinking that he was only pretending to be asleep to let her do as she pleased. Once Su Yang was fully stripped, Su Yin took a long moment to admire his handsome appearance before she began touching him all over his body. "Elder brother, your muscles have grown very sturdy, and you no longer look as frail as you used to," she mumbled in a gentle voice as she approached his body with her mouth wide open, and she began licking his body with her soft tongue. Su Yin also started touching herself as she licked all over Su Yang's body. A few minutes later, once she reached his crotch area, she stared at his sleeping dragon with a smile. She poked the dragon's head and said, "It's time to wake up, elder brother." A moment later, as though it reacted to her playful touch, the sleeping dragon slowly became aroused. "Wow!" Su Yin watched with wide eyes as the sleeping dragon stood up, transforming into a sword that wanted to pierce the heavens. "Allow me to please you, elder brother." Su Yin opened her mouth wide and swallowed the entire thing in one go, and despite her small mouth, she managed to fully capture the entire dragon in her mouth. A moment later, she began moving her mouth, sucking on the rod in an experienced manner, almost as though she was used to it. Slurping noises filled the quiet room, and under the moonlight, Su Yin savored Su Yang's thick rod for many minutes until she was fully satisfied. In the midst of Su Yin's fetalio, the pleasure coming from his little brother caused Su Yang's exhausted consciousness to tremble. Su Yang slowly opened his eyes a few moments later, and when he saw Su Yin enjoying herself with his body, his eyes widened with shock, causing his drowsiness to instantly disappear. Su Yin quickly noticed Su Yang awakening, and when she saw his surprised face, she said to him with a smile, "You are finally awake, elder brother. Did I manage to please you? Although it's been some time since I last did it, my technique shouldn't have declined too much, right?" Su Yang rubbed his temples and sighed. You couldn't have waited until the morning to do this. I cannot wait. She quickly shook her head and she continued. I have waited many years for this, and now that I am finally an adult, I want to give you my virginity as soon as possible. Although I wanted to lose it at the same time as you, because of our father's interventions, that is no longer possible. After saying those words, Su Yin removed her clothes and revealed to him her petite yet beautiful body. What do you think, elder brother? My body may not be as mature or ripe as some of the women in this place, but I will try my best to satisfy you. However, Su Yang remained silent. Seeing Su Yang's silence, Su Yin became disheartened. Are you angry at me? Or are you still unable to accept me because of our relationship? Tears began flowing from her eyes. Su Yang sighed and said, I have never looked or judged a woman purely because of their background or their relationships. It doesn't matter if you are my sister or not, because, before all of that, you are a woman in my eyes. While it does feel kind of weird, I am not someone to be bothered by morals if it doesn't touch my bottom line. In his previous life, he has slept with countless wives, sometimes even with their daughters at the same time. So one could say that a woman's status or background does not matter to Su Yang as long as they were willing to sleep with him, and he did not mind their company. Furthermore, because his memories as an immortal vastly overshadows his memories in this life, he could not see Su Yin as his sister even if they shared the same blood. In fact, he only sees himself playing the role of a brother for Su Yin. Then you are not rejecting me? Su Yin asked him in a trembling voice. Su Yang wiped her tears with a smile on his face and asked her, Are you really okay with someone like me? Even if I cannot be with you forever? Su Yin nodded. I know you already have a partner and I cannot compete with someone like her, but I will still love you forever, elder brother. Su Yang nodded, and a few moments later he laid Su Yin on the bed and rubbed his sword against the small slit between her legs. I am going to put it in now, he warned her. Su Yin nodded with a passionate gaze. A few seconds later, Su Yang pushed the tip inside her small cave. Tilda, Su Yin moaned loudly from the pain. Even though it was only the tip because of her small hole, her cave stretched to its limits, and she could feel her insides tearing. Do you want me to relieve your pain with a technique? Su Yang asked her after seeing her painful expression. And no, it hurts, but I can handle it, Su Yin rejected without hesitation. This pain is proof that I am not dreaming. Very well, he nodded before pushing his thick rod even deeper into her cave. Tilda. Streams of blood flowed from Su Yin's cave as her hymen is torn apart by Su Yang's sword, staining the white bed sheets red. A few moments later, when Su Yang's thick rod was fully inserted into her tiny cave, Su Yin showed a blissful expression despite the intense pain. I did it. My body is finally connected with elder brother, she mumbled, and continued, Please, elder brother, make me a woman your woman. In response to her pleading voice, Su Yang began moving his hips, thrusting his large rod into her small body, feeling as though he was trying to dig a cave that was too small for his utility. Su Yin moaned loudly as her lower body burned with passion. Very quickly, the pain was no longer noticeable and her body could feel nothing but pleasure. I am so happy right now, elder brother. Allah. Half an hour later, Su Yin could feel the shaft pounding her body grow even bigger inside, and she shouted, Release it inside me. I want to accept everything from elder brother. A few more moments later, Su Yin could feel something hot rush into her body, filling her small cave instantly. Ha, Su Yin panted heavily afterward. Once she regained her breath, she said to Su Yang, Let's keep going, elder brother. Until I cannot move my body anymore, I don't want to stop making love with you. Don't worry, I don't plan on stopping anytime soon. Su Yang responded with a smile. Because of the built-up lust from massing Ku, he has plenty of stress to release. A few moments later, they began moving again, and they would continue to embrace each other for the rest of the night, until Su Yin could literally no longer move her body from exhaustion. "This is the best birthday ever," Su Yin said to him afterward. "I really love you, elder brother. Have you thought about what you want as a present?" Su Yang asked her. After a moment of silence, she spoke. "Give me a kiss, elder brother." Su Yang nodded and gently kissed her on the lips. He, thank you, elder brother. Let's do this again tonight." Su Yin said to him in a low voice before quickly falling asleep. Chapter 542. Ignoring the situation the following morning, Su Yang woke up to Liu Lanjai's voice along with the sound of his door being knocked on. "Su Yang, are you awake? We have an emergency," she shouted as she banged on his door. "What happened?" Su Yang opened the door a moment later to see both Liu Lanjai and Bai Lihua standing outside his door with anxious expressions. "I have just received news from my sect. Apparently, a spiritual treasure has been born around this area, and almost every faction within the Eastern continent has already sent people to search for it. It's going to get chaotic around here very soon," Bai Lihua said to him. "A spiritual treasure?" Su Yang raised his eyebrows in a puzzled manner. If a spiritual treasure had truly been born, then he would have long noticed it. However, the fact that neither he nor Kyu noticed it made this rumor questionable. Rumors say it's a spiritual treasure at the legendary divine grade, one grade above the heaven grade, Liu Lanjai said. Hearing this, Su Yang became even more doubtful of this rumor, as there is simply no way he would miss the birth of a divine grade spiritual treasure. After pondering for a few moments, Su Yang suddenly burst out laughing as he finally realized the entire situation. "There's no spiritual treasure," he revealed to them, who only stared at him with wide eyes. What do you mean? How do you know that?" Bai Lihua asked him. "If there's truly a spiritual treasure at the divine grade, I would have known about it before it's even born. However, the fact that I haven't sensed anything like that is because it doesn't exist. As for the rumor, I also have an idea about how they came to such a conclusion." Liu Lanjai and Bai Lihua silently listened to him, who continued to speak. "Do you remember what happened yesterday?" "What? You created that grand formation, eh?" Bai Lihua suddenly realized the situation and exclaimed. "That must be it." Liu Lanjai also understood the situation and said, "When you activated the grand formation yesterday, it required a massive amount of spiritual energy. Some people must have sensed the immense and unnatural amount of spiritual energy at that time and had mistaken it as the birth of a spiritual treasure. I don't blame them for thinking that a spiritual treasure had been born, as I would have also thought the same if I wasn't here to witness the truth for myself." Bai Lihua sighed, and she continued, "What should we do now? The word has already spread throughout the entire continent. There's simply no way to stop these people from coming here." "Why do we need to do anything?" Su Yang suddenly said, dumbfounding her. "If they think there's a spiritual treasure here, then let them search for it. Sooner or later, they will realize that it was all a hoax and leave." "That may be true, but this situation is about more than just the spiritual treasure. With so many people coming here, there's bound to be conflict between some people, even war. Are you saying that you won't mind being in the middle of a battlefield?" Su Yang nodded without hesitation. "Even if there's an all-out war right outside our doors, it won't affect us in any way as long as we stay inside. It's not as though any of our disciples are training outside. Though, if the situation somehow gets out of hand, it won't require too much effort to stop it," Su Yang said as his gaze looked at the room behind them. "Oh, right. If things get out of hand, Senior Kyu can easily stop it with her overwhelming presence," Liu Lanjai said. "By the way, did the Heavenly Swan sect also send people here?" Su Yang asked her. "Of course. When I am absent, the senior sect elders will act on my behalf, and under such circumstances, it's only natural for them to send some disciples to search for the spiritual treasure, even if it's just a rumor without any evidence," she said. But since this is all just a misunderstanding and there's really no spiritual treasure, I will tell them to return to the sect. After all, I don't want to expose my disciples in any unnecessary danger, especially when there's nothing to gain. A few moments later, Bai Lihua spoke while looking inside his room. By the way, where's Su Yin? I thought she stayed in your room last night. She's still sleeping inside. You can see for yourself if you are that worried about her, he said. She's still sleeping. Bai Lihua thought to herself, as they have been making quite some noises now, and it's almost impossible to ignore and sleep through such noises unless that person is incredibly exhausted or sleepy. Meanwhile, Liu Lanjai remained silent, as she had long noticed the lingering sense of one's pure yin essence coming from inside the room. Congratulations, little sister. Liu Lanjai praised Su Yin inwardly, as she could imagine what had happened last night. Sometime later, Bai Lihua left to contact the Heavenly Swan sect regarding the situation. Although the sect elders were puzzled and doubtful at first, since it came directly from Bai Lihua, they reluctantly recalled the disciples they had sent outside to the sect. Let the disciples know about the situation and remind them to remain inside the sect until all of this is over, Su Yang said to Liu Lanjai afterward. Once Liu Lanjai also left, Su Yang knocked on Kiyu's room. How are you feeling? He asked her from the outside. There was no response from Kiyu even many moments later. However, Su Yang remained standing outside her room, patiently waiting for a response. A few minutes later, a low voice resounded, I don't want to see you for a while. I understand, he said with a bitter smile on his face before leaving her alone. Meanwhile, inside the room, Kiyu laid on the bed with her entire face flushed red as she recalled everything that happened yesterday during the massage chapter 543 Moonlight Blades Messenger. How am I going to look at him properly in the face after what happened yesterday? Kiyu cried inwardly as she rolled around on the bed after recalling everything that happened yesterday. While some of her memories were still cloudy, she could remember the vast majority of yesterday's event, where she allowed Su Yang to give her a very, very sensual massage. Of course, she had hoped for some sort of intimate moments between them, and the massage was just an excuse for her to get closer to him, but she truly didn't expect things to escalate in such a manner. The situation simply was too passionate for her, causing her boldness and lustful desires to go out of control. In fact, if Su Yang did not hold himself back during the massage, she would not have minded even if he penetrated her at that moment. I cannot believe that I had thought to risk my life just to have sex with him, she sighed inwardly. And it was not just a brief thought, as she had the same thought many times throughout the massage. As she continued to think about yesterday, her body grew hotter and hotter, until she was once again filled with lustful desires. I am such a perverted woman, she mumbled. A few moments later, she began pleasuring herself while recalling the feeling of Su Yang's fingers inside her body and the sensation of his lips, and she would continue to pleasure herself until her lust eventually calmed down. Meanwhile, tens of thousands of miles away from the profound Blossom sect, Zai Wang and Zai Xingfeng came to a sudden halt during their journey to the profound Blossom sect. Grandfather, there's someone following us, Zai Xingfeng warned him. Zai Wang nodded, and he spoke out loud a moment later. Why don't you show yourself already? If you think you can hide from me with your pathetic cultivation base, then you are thinking too highly of yourself. Ha ha ha, I never intended on hiding, Senior Zai. A man cloaked in full black suddenly stepped out of the shadows and appeared before them. To think the Moonlight Blades would send a single assassin at the profound spirit realm to greet me. Are you looking down on me? Zai Wang spoke in a cold voice, before releasing his sovereign spirit realm cultivation base. Ha ha ha! The assassin continued to laugh despite being choked by the immense pressure and with every bone in his body screaming from pain. HMPH. Wang retrieved the pressure a moment later and spoke in a cold tone. You may be a mere messenger, but don't expect me to let you live afterward. Say what you need so I can claim your worthless life. If you make any sudden moves, I will immediately kill you. The assassin did not even bother to beg for mercy, as death was well within his expectations before he even approached them. I have a message for your highness from the Moonlight Blades, he said a moment later. Zai Xingfang remained calm and silently waited for the message. You may think that you are untouchable because of your status and the senior currently by your side, but the Moonlight Blade wants to remind you that the Zai family is only worth something within the Eastern continent. Very soon, someone from the Holy Central Continent will be arriving in the Eastern continent to pick you up, and when that happens, we suggest that you hand yourself over to him without causing too much trouble. Because if you offend the senior from the Holy Central Continent, who knows what he might do to the Eastern continent? Ha ha ha. What? Someone from the Holy Central Continent will be coming here. Impossible, Zai Wang exclaimed with a shocked face. There's no need to be so surprised, senior. All we needed to convince that person to make a year-long journey to this place was Her Highness's special condition. When that expert heard that a peerless beauty with a heavenly constitution existed in this place, he immediately agreed to help the Moonlight Blade capture you, even deciding to personally make the journey. Within 1 month's time, the esteemed expert from the Holy Central Continent should arrive at the Eastern Continent. Hopefully, Your Highness has prepared herself by then because you have nowhere to run or hide. If you still decide to run, just know that the Eastern Continent will become a hellhole because of you. And if you decide to hide, we will spare no effort making you crawl out from your hole. This the fate of someone born with a heavenly constitution to become a tool for the strong, Your Highness. The assassin laughed madly. Get out of here with your nonsense, bastard from the Moonlight Blades. Zai Wang suddenly slapped the air with his palms in a downward motion, causing an invisible force that had the weight of an entire mountain to pressure the assassin, instantly crushing him into meat paste. After killing the assassin, Zai Wang said to Zai Xingfang, "Don't believe in their nonsense, Zinger. A bunch of bandits and criminals like the Moonlight Blades should not have the capability to reach the Holy Central Continent, much less convince some unknown expert to capture you. They are just trying to scare you because they have run out of ideas." Whether his words were true or not, I am sorry for causing so much trouble for the family. If only I wasn't born with this body, Zai Xingfeng sighed. Nonsense. Having a heavenly constitution is something you should be proud of, not feel guilty about. Anyway, let's hurry to the profound Blossom sect. Even if someone from the Holy Central Continent is coming here, we still have that unknown expert who appeared at the end of the regional tournament. If it's that senior, I am sure that she has the ability to protect you. And if she is really Su Yang's master, there's a high chance that we can receive help from her. Zai Wang said to her. Zai Xingfang nodded, and they resumed their journey shortly after. Chapter 544 Practice Dolls. Sometime during the day, Su Yang summoned all of the disciples from the Dual Cultivation division, as their month of practice was over, and it was time for their practical exam. I hope you have all practiced the techniques properly during the month of time I gave you. The purpose of today's practical exam is not only to evaluate your talents, but also to see what you need help with, Su Yang said to the disciples once they all gathered. He then looked at the male disciples and said, I don't have a lot of time today, as I have guests to entertain, so let's start already. A few moments later, Su Yang faced the male disciples with his back and said, Show me what you can do with your fingers of fulfillment on my back. One by one, the male disciples took turns trying to locate and awaken the vital spot on his back. After everyone had gone, Su Yang said to them, It's not bad for a month's worth of practice, but if you want to please your partners, it'll take much more effort than this. He then proceeded to give advice to the male disciples depending on the individual. A few minutes later, he said to the male disciples with a nonchalant expression, "Now pretend there's a naked beauty before you and show me the bedroom dance technique." The male disciples exchanged gazes with each other before awkwardly moving their bodies, humping the air before them as though they were cultivating with an invisible figure. When the female disciples saw this scene, a few of them couldn't help but chuckle at them, causing the male disciples' faces to redden. The female disciples are laughing at you because your movements are trash. If you cannot learn to ignore your surroundings and focus on what's before you, then you are not fit to be a dual cultivator. When the male disciples heard his words, they all straightened their emotions and began moving with more grace and sharpness, almost like they were dancing. A few minutes later, Xianxia said to them, "Your movements were pretty decent, but it was below average overall. Do you know why?" The disciples shook their heads. Xianxia then stepped forward and spoke, "Then watch me do it and see for yourselves the difference." As he said those words, Xianxia began moving his body according to the bedroom dance technique, but it was incomparably more elegant and smoother than the male disciples, and it completely mesmerized the female disciples within mere moments. "Did you notice any difference besides my movements being much smoother?" Xianxia asked them once he was finished. One of the female disciples raised her hand and spoke, "Unlike the disciples, when sect leader exhibited the technique, we were able to imagine very clearly your partner, even though she does not exist." "Very good," Xianxia nodded. "The reason you guys were unable to create this illusion is because you lacked passion and imagination while doing it, and it looked like I was watching a bunch of monkeys humping the air. Whether there's a body before you or not, if you don't do it with passion, you will never be able to utilize the full potential of the technique." A few moments later, Xianxia retrieved a bed from his storage ring and tossed it on the ground before laying on it with his back facing the sky. "I will give each of you a minute to use divine hands on my shoulders and back," he said to them. The male disciples then lined up and began using divine hands on his shoulders and back. 10 minutes later, Xianxia sat up and said to the male disciples, "While none of you were above my expectations, you have made very decent progress within a month. However, I can tell that most of you have practiced your techniques alone, hence why I am going to give each of you a partner to practice with in the future." After saying those words, he retrieved 9 human-sized and human-shaped dolls made of some sort of soft material that resembled human skin and tissue, and handed it to the 9 male disciples. "These practice dolls will allow you to practice your techniques alone even if you do not have a partner, as these dolls feel no different than a real human. Furthermore, I made these dolls with female bodies in mind, so it will really feel like you have a female partner when you practice with them." The male disciples accepted these practice dolls with dumbfounded expressions, feeling as though they were hugging a real human body when they held the practice dolls in their arms. "By the way, these were personally crafted by myself, so if you break them, you won't find a replacement even if you search the whole world," Xianxia warned them. "Thank you, sect leader. We will take care of them as though they are our own child." The male disciples bowed to him with teary eyes. "The next practical exam will be in 3 months, so hurry up and return to your rooms and start practicing." The male disciples disappeared shortly after, leaving the female disciples standing there with dazed expressions. Once the male disciples were gone, Xianxia turned to look at the female disciples and spoke, "Before I begin your evaluation, if you do not wish to cultivate with me, step forward." Many moments later, not a single disciple had stepped forward, not even the 2 female disciples that already have a partner. "Don't the 2 of you already have a partner?" One of the female disciples there asked the 2 disciples, causing everybody there to look at them. "Indeed, I already have a partner, but we had an agreement with each other that he will allow me to cultivate with the sect leader even if we are partners, as that was one of my conditions for accepting him as my partner. Me, too. I also had such an agreement with my partner, so it's fine even if he finds out, said the second disciple. No way, you sly foxes. The female disciples there looked at the two of them with disbelief and admiration in their expressions, as they wouldn't have thought of such an idea without these two chapter 545 evaluating the female disciples. Will it be okay if we also cultivate with you even though we already have our own partner, sect leader? The disciples with a partner asked him. As long as you and your partners agree to it, there's no reason for me to refuse. Su Yang responded with a calm expression. Anyway, since everyone here is willing to cultivate with me, follow me. Sometime later, Su Yang brought the female disciples to his old living quarters and said to them, I will evaluate one of you at a time from the oldest to the youngest, so get in line according to your age. The female disciples immediately began forming a line based on their age, with the oldest in the front and the youngest in the back. How old are you? I'm 24 years old. What about you? 22 years old. Who here is 19 years old? I am right behind you. I am 19 years old. Who here is the oldest among us? I should be the youngest. Many minutes later, when the disciples had formed an orderly line, Su Yang called the first one in line inside the house. The first and oldest disciple to be evaluated by Su Yang was a beautiful young lady who was 24 years old. Once the disciple was inside his room, Su Yang laid on the bed and said to her, Go ahead and use fingers of fulfillment on me. The disciple nodded and took a moment to locate his vital point before poking it with profound qi focused at the tip of her finger. A slight feeling of pleasure ran through Su Yang's body, and he nodded. Very good, you have fully grasped the understanding of the technique in just 1 month. I am nowhere near worthy of your praises, sect leader, she said with a bashful smile. After the first test concluded, Su Yang began loosening his robes and said, Show me what you can do with your hands. The disciple nodded with a slightly flushed face and approached Su Yang's naked body with her hands, touching him all over his back whilst using the technique divine hands. Not bad, but you need to relax your fingers and move them more naturally, he said a few minutes later. Before I evaluate the last technique, heavenly paradise, allow me to show you my fingers of fulfillment and divine hands. Su Yang said to her, and he continued, Remove your clothes and lay on the bed. The disciple nodded and quickly loosened her robes, allowing it to slide right onto the floor, revealing her slender body to him. A few moments later, once she was on the bed, Su Yang began touching her body with his hands. On. MMMH. The disciple quickly began moaning heavily as the feeling of Su Yang's hands awakened all of her lustful desires, causing her little sister to start drooling with yin qi. That is what fingers of fulfillment should feel like. Su Yang said to her before moving his hands towards the lower part of her body, and this is divine hands. The disciple could feel his fingers massaging the area around her crotch without actually touching it, yet it also felt as though his hands were touching every inch of her body at this moment. A few minutes later, after the demonstration ended, Su Yang laid on the bed again. Do you know what to do next? He asked her, who nodded with a red face. The disciple then got on top of Su Yang and slowly inserted his thick rod into her maiden hole, splitting the cave and revealing the pink inside. Once the entire shaft was entirely inside her hole, the disciple began moving her body and hips according to the techniques listed within the Heavenly Paradise technique. On. MMMH. Despite this being her first experience, the disciple passionately moaned as she rode Su Yang's thick sword like an expert, almost like a dancer. A few minutes later, Su Yang released his yang qi into her body. Feeling his hot yang qi gushing into her small hole, the disciple's body trembled. How was it, sect leader? She asked him afterward. You were too focused on pleasuring yourself instead of your partner. While it's important to pleasure yourself, this technique is meant for pleasuring others, as it's your partner's responsibility to pleasure you. Here, let me show you. Su Yang suddenly held her by the hips and began moving his hips. Ah, mmmmmmh, on. The disciple screamed in pleasure as Su Yang pounded her body intensely. A few minutes later, the disciple collapsed onto his chest with her entire body sparkling in sweat. If your partner is competent, then he should have no problem pleasing you like this, he said to her. If he cannot, then I suggest you find a new partner or you can teach him yourself. Sometime later, Su Yang retrieved another practice doll from his storage ring and handed it to the female disciple. However, unlike the practice dolls he gave to the male disciples, this one had a body that resembled a man's body, and it even had a long and thick rod at the bottom that was already fully erect and hard. I have crafted this practice doll based on my own body, so you can practice your techniques with it whenever I am too busy to assist you, he said to her. This is the sect leader. The female disciple stared at the practice doll with a dazed expression, seemingly in awe. She could tell at a glance that the practice doll's body was exactly like Su Yang's body, from the shape of its body to the size of its rod. Are you sure I can have something this precious, sect leader? She asked him with a shaky voice. When she saw Su Yang nodding his head, the disciple's expression immediately became filled with delight and happiness. Thank you, sect leader. I will treasure and treat this practice doll as though it's really the sect leader, and I will even use it every day, she said to him with a bright smile, before storing the practice doll into her storage ring. Chapter 546, Birthday Present. After he finished evaluating the first female disciple, Su Yang continued to call the disciples into his room one at a time, before allowing them to perform their techniques on him. Your performance overall was above average, but your hip movements were a bit stiff and awkward. You should move it like this, Su Yang said to the disciple before demonstrating the technique on her body. And tilde, the disciple moaned loudly, and a few minutes later, her body collapsed onto the bed with an exhausted expression on her face. Sometime later, Su Yang also gifted her a practice doll. This is. The female disciple was dumbfounded at first, but when she realized that the doll was crafted based on Su Yang's body, her eyes flickered with excitement, and she said, "Thank you, sect master. I will surely practice with it every day so that I can please you properly next time." After spending a few hours cultivating with the new disciples and evaluating their techniques and giving them advice, Su Yang said to them afterward, "If you ever feel like checking your progress with the techniques, you can find me, and I will evaluate you like I did today. Regardless, I will reevaluate everyone here in 3 months." Su Yang dismissed the disciples shortly after, before returning to the yin-yang pavilion. Once Su Yang was gone, the female disciples began talking with each other. "Did you also receive a practice doll from the sect leader?" "I did. I cannot believe how perfectly it resembles his body. It's almost like I am staring at the sect leader's body itself when I look at the practice doll. I cannot wait to start practicing with it, he. Meanwhile, at the yin-yang pavilion, when Su Yang entered his room, he noticed Su Yin sitting on the bed with a dozed-off expression, almost as though she was half asleep. "You sure slept well," he said to her with a smile. "Good morning, elder brother," she said to him. "Morning, it's already midday," he said. "What? It's already so late?" Su Yin's eyes snapped open and turned to look at the window. "I have overslept. Why didn't you wake me up earlier, elder brother? Now I have less time to spend with you on my birthday," she sighed in a sorrowful tone. "Anyway, how do you want to spend your birthday? Is there anything special you want to do?" Su Yang asked her a moment later. "No, I am content with just being around you, elder brother," she quickly replied. "Though I would like to see what elder brother normally does as the sect leader." Besides cultivating with the sect elders and the new disciples, I also lecture the disciples from the cultivation division, and I sometimes lecture the junior disciples. Why don't I give you a tour around the sect? That sounds fun, she nodded. Sometime later, Su Yang brought Su Yin outside and gave her a tour around the entire sect starting from the center court. As you know, this is the Yin-Yang Pavilion, where the sect leaders dwell. This tall building is called the Morning Wood Pagoda, and it's where sect elders normally gather for meetings. Morning Wood Pagoda. Su Yin chuckled at the sect's weird naming sense. After walking around the center court, Su Yang brought her to the inner court, and the first place they visited was the Chamber of Embrace. This is where disciples used to cultivate with guests that come from the outside. Su Yang began recalling his experience at this place. After seeing the Chamber of Embrace, Su Yang continued to tour around the inner court with Su Yin. However, besides living quarters for the inner court disciples, there really wasn't much to see inside the inner court. Once they reached the outer court, Su Yang showed her the building he used to live in, even recalling some of the things that had happened during his time as an outer court disciple. Sometime later, they arrived at the White Pearl Treasury, where Elder Zhao was sleeping behind the counter like always. Su Yang and the little sister, what brings you here today? I am just giving her a tour around the sect, said Su Yang. He then turned to look at Su Yin and spoke, Is there anything you want from this place? I will pay it for you. Su Yin shook her head. Sometime later, the siblings returned to the Yin-Yang Pavilion. Thank you for the tour, elder brother. I finally have a grasp of your living environment after all this time, Su Yin said to him. Su Yang merely smiled. A moment later, he retrieved a storage ring and said, Su Yin, here. He extended his hand, offering the storage ring to her. What is this, elder brother? Su Yin looked at it with a puzzled expression. It's your birthday present, he said. But I don't need any presents. I know, but I am giving it to you anyway. Take a look inside. Su Yin nodded and accepted the storage ring. When she looked inside the storage ring and saw what was inside, she gasped in shock. Elder brother, this is. She looked at him with wide eyes. There are 10 million spirit stones, a peak-quality heaven-grade spiritual treasure, and 3 immortal-grade martial techniques that suit your cultivation technique inside. Although it's not much, it'll assist your cultivation for many years. Thank you, elder brother. I will treasure this gift for the rest of my life. Su Yin tightly grasped the storage ring in her hands before rushing to embrace Su Yang. And for the remainder of the day, the two of them remained inside the room, spending their time passionately with each other. The following day, Zai Xingfeng and Zai Wang arrived at the Profound Blossom sect, surprising everyone within the sect with their sudden visit, especially Liu Lanjai, who didn't even know how to react at first. Su Yang, we have an emergency. Liu Lanjai knocked on his door early in the morning. Again, chapter 547. Zai family's Ricks. What is it this time? Don't tell me another spiritual treasure was born. Su Yang opened the door a moment later to see an anxious Liu Lanjai waiting outside. This is much worse, Liu Lanjai quickly said after seeing him, and she continued, the Zai family is here, and it's not just Her Highness this time. The previous head of the Zai family, their ancestor, is also here this time. Ancestor? That old man? Su Yang raised his eyebrows, wondering why they would be here. Could this be about the spiritual treasure too? Anyway, they are currently being led to this place, as they have called for your presence, and I am just here to notify you. Su Yang nodded and said, Bring them to the Morning Wood Pagoda. We'll have our conversation there. Meanwhile, Zai Xingfeng and Zai Wang had just arrived at the inner court after following Elder Sun. I have been meaning to ask this for a while, but who built the formation around the Profound Blossom sect? Zai Wang asked Elder Sun with a serious expression, as he has never seen such a profound and fearsome formation before. When he first laid eyes on it, He almost couldn't believe his eyes, and when they entered the sect, it felt like they were entering a different world. If he were to compare the profound blossom sect's formation with their own formation, it would be like comparing a building made of this world's finest materials to a building made of mud, with the Zai family's formation resembling the latter comparison. That would be our sect master, Su Yang. Elder Sun responded with a respectful tone, not daring to lie to him. What? That young man is responsible for this formation. Zai Wang expressed a surprised face after hearing that Su Yang was behind the formation's creation. I wouldn't dare lie to your majesty, Elder Sun said. Just call me senior. I have long passed my title and throne to my son, the current lord, Zai Wang said. Did you already know about this formation? Is that why you wanted to come here? Zai Wang asked Zai Xingfeng a moment later. However, she quickly shook her head and said, no, it wasn't here during the disciple examination. Are you telling me that he had built this massive formation in just a few weeks? Unbelievable, Zai Wang mumbled in a shocked voice. Sometime later, Elder Sun brought them to the Morning Wood Pagoda. We are here, esteemed guests. Su Yang should be waiting inside, Elder Sun said to them before leaving them alone. Let's go. Zai Wang and Zai Xingfeng entered the majestic building a moment later. Welcome to the profound blossom sect, Su Yang said to them the moment he saw their faces. To what do I owe the pleasure, your highness? He bowed to Zai Xingfeng. Please, you can drop the formality, Su Yang, just call me Zinger. Zai Xingfeng said, and she continued, and I apologize for the sudden visit as things have been getting complicated recently. Are you in some kind of trouble? Su Yang asked. Zai Xingfeng nodded at his question. Let's sit down and talk about it over some tea, he said before pouring some tea for them. After they were all seated, Zai Xingfeng spoke. This may be sudden, and I won't blame you for refusing this request, but I would like to stay at the profound blossom sect for some time. Oh. Su Yang raised an eyebrow and he spoke. I wouldn't dare to chase away a beauty such as yourself, even if it's the last thing I do, and you can stay here for as long as you want, but may I ask why you need to stay here? Zai Xingfeng nodded and said, do you remember when we first met, when you were attacked by an assassin from the Moonlight Blades? I guess, he said. The Moonlight Blades activity has gone up recently, so I am seeking protection here until things calm down just in case. Furthermore, on our way here, we were approached by a single messenger from the Moonlight Blades who said. Zai Xingfeng recalled what the messenger said to her to Su Yang. So someone from the holy central continent might be arriving in this place very soon, huh? Interesting, Su Yang mumbled. I am ashamed to say this, especially after what happened with the Million Snakes sect, but I believe I will be safe here even if what that messenger said was true. Zai Xingfeng said. Are you fine with this? Su Yang looked at Zai Wang. What do you mean? He asked. You basically admitted that the profound blossom sect is much safer than your own home, which implies that. Well, you should know the rest. After seeing the formation that is protecting this place, even if it'll lower our family standing, I must admit that the profound blossom sect is definitely a much safer place than the Zai family's household at this moment. And if the Moonlight Blades really manage to convince an expert from the heavenly central continent to come here, then I cannot say with confidence that I can protect her anymore. Don't worry, we won't ask you to lend us your strength for free. As long as we can afford it, we'll definitely repay this debt, Zai Wang said with a serious expression. Su Yang smiled and said, you don't need to be so serious, old man. It's only someone from the holy central continent. Even if their entire continent launches an attack at the profound blossom sect, they won't harm a hair on Zinger as long as she stays within the formation. Oh, old man, the corner of Zai Wang's mouth twitched. I cannot thank you enough for this, Su Yang. Zai Xingfeng stood up and bowed to him. You can thank me afterward, he shook his head. Sometime later, Zai Wang spoke with a deep frown on his face. Now that our main reason for coming here is out of the way, let's talk about the poison that still resides within my granddaughter's body. Chapter 548, Zai Wang's Invitation. When Zai Wang mentioned the potion within Zai Xingfeng's body, the room turned silent. The Zai family has obtained every ingredient you listed except for 3 demon roots, purple killin's blood, and the devil blood ginseng. Both the demon roots and the purple killin can be found within the abandoned forest, a highly dangerous place with powerful poisonous beasts that reside inside, and a poisonous mist that fills the entire place. Although we have the ability to obtain the demon roots that is near the outer areas, we cannot reach the purple killin that dwells within the deepest parts of the abandoned forest. Unless one has a body with strong immunity to poisons like Zinger, they will not be able to reach the purple killin, much less obtain its blood. Zinger could reach the purple killin with her heavenly constitution, but she is only at the first-level heavenly spirit realm, and the purple killin is at the very least the 6th-level heavenly spirit realm. As for the devil blood ginseng, how is your progress with it? Zai Wang asked him. Well, it's currently growing in a secluded place, so nobody else will find it and it should be ready to harvest in a few months, he calmly responded. Really? That's great to hear, Zai Xingfeng said. Now regarding the poison within the abandoned forest, how strong is the poison there? Can it stop even you from entering it? Su Yang then asked Zai Wang. As much as I hate to admit it, I can only resist the poison before the center area. Any more than that and even my cultivation base won't be able to protect me from the poison mist. Su Yang nodded and said, Very well, I will find a way to protect you from the poison mist and fight the purple killin. Do you already have a plan? Zai Wang raised his eyebrows in a surprised manner. Of course, he quickly responded. I have a few pills in mind that will increase your resistance to poison. Pills. A complicated expression appeared on Zai Wang's face, and he continued, but there are no pills in this world that are powerful enough to resist the poison mist, or we would have obtained the ingredients long ago. Su Yang shook his head and said, If I am not confident of its effects, would I even bother mentioning it? Though I am not surprised you do not know about it since it doesn't exist in the eastern continent yet. What? Zai Wang looked at him with wide eyes. He suddenly recalled the goddess during the regional tournament. Oh, these pills must be from the holy central continent, right? He asked with excitement. Su Yang raised his eyebrows. Well, I guess it's something like that, he said a moment later. While these pill recipes came from the 4 divine heavens, it would be better to just say that it came from the holy central continent, as that was more convenient and believable. This is great news, grandfather, Zai Xingfeng said with a bright smile. Now we can obtain 2 more ingredients. Once the devil blood ginseng is ready for harvest, we will have all of the ingredients for the cure. Don't get so excited just yet, Su Yang suddenly said to them. Although we have resolutions to deal with the poison mist, we still need the pills for the plan to succeed. Just like the cure for Zinger's poisoned body, I am not sure if the ingredients required for the pills exist in this world. Even if we don't have the ingredients in the eastern continent, we can get them from the holy central continent, right? Although I have never been there personally, your master should be able to reach that place, right? Zai Wang asked him. My master? If you're talking about that beauty, then she's not my master. Su Yang sighed, wondering why everyone immediately assumes Qiyu to be his master. That goddess who appeared at the end of the regional tournament. If she's not your master, then who is that expert? I have never seen someone as powerful as her in my 500 years in this world. Zai Wang asked with a puzzled face. A friend, he casually responded. Anyway, even without the pills, I have a few more ideas. He then turned to look at Zai Xingfeng and said, Can I see your palms for a moment? Zai Xingfeng nodded and extended her arms to him. Su Yang grabbed her smooth hand and closed his eyes. A few minutes of silence later, he reopened his eyes and said, "You have about another half a year before you start experiencing the symptoms, which will be painful to bear." "Half a year, will that be enough for us to complete the cure?" she asked him with a worried face. Su Yang showed her a confident smile and said, "Even if that isn't enough time, I will make it so that it will be enough, so you shouldn't worry about it. Even though I am from one of the most powerful families in the Eastern continent, I don't know how I should be thanking you for all that you've done for me and my family." Zai Xingfeng sighed. "There's no need to thank me. I am just doing what I want," he said. "Anyway, do you have any more questions for me? Do you have anything else for him, Zinger?" Zai Wang asked her. "No," she shook her head. "Then can you wait for me outside? I would like to talk to him in private. It won't take too long," Zai Wang said. Zai Xingfeng looked at him silently for a moment before nodding her head. "Don't go overboard just because I am not here, grandfather, because I will find out." "I wouldn't dare," he chuckled. Once Zai Xingfeng left the room, Zai Wang looked at Su Yang with a serious expression and said, "I won't beat around the bush and go straight to the topic. Would you like to become a part of the Zai family?" he asked Su Yang with narrowed eyes. Chapter 549, One-of-a-Kind Woman. "You want me to join the Zai family? Would you like to elaborate on that?" Su Yang said calmly. "It is exactly as it sounds. I want you to join our family and become the next Lord Zai in the future." Zai Wang spoke with a serious expression. "Can you tell me what made you come to such a decision?" Su Yang asked him. "It's quite simple, actually. Not only are you one of the most talented individuals I have ever seen, but you also have the brains and demeanor to rule an entire continent. Furthermore, my granddaughter Zinger also seems to fancy you, and you have the appearance and facial features to match her beauty. If you ask me, you are the most suitable for my granddaughter. I have seen countless young men asking for my granddaughter's hand, but none of them qualify to even touch her, much less marry her. What do you say? If you join the Zai family, not only will you get to marry Zinger, who is arguably the most beautiful woman in the Eastern continent, but there's a very high chance that you will succeed the throne and rule over the Eastern continent in the future." After hearing Zai Wang's words, Su Yang spoke with a smile. "Are you sure that you can trust someone like me? I mean, we are barely acquaintances, so I doubt you know very much about me. And to hand over your granddaughter to someone you don't even know, aren't you being too hasty with your choices? Furthermore, I am the sect leader of a sect that participates in dual cultivation. Do you really think I will stop cultivating even after I marry into the Zai family? If you are trying to bait me with Zinger, then I suggest you stop before her feelings are hurt." Zai Wang remained silent for a long time after listening to Su Yang's words. A few more moments later he spoke. "I wouldn't sacrifice Zinger even if it's the last thing I do. No matter how greedy I am or how much I want the Zai family to succeed, I won't use my beloved granddaughter as bait. You are thinking too lowly of me, young man. However, it is because you have such a mentality that I think you are fit to become a ruler, and I wouldn't even be bringing this up if Zinger didn't fancy you. She has a talent for judging people, and if she approves of you, then I have no reason to doubt your character even if I don't know you that well. Furthermore, you are the only individual I know that can look at Zinger in the face without showing any lust in your eyes. What do you say, young man? My granddaughter is a one-of-a-kind woman in this world. Not only is she as beautiful as a fairy, but her talent is also top-notch, and she's royalty. If I allow it, there would be men lining up from one side of the continent to the other side for her." Su Yang chuckled at his words. While Zai Xingfeng may be the most beautiful woman in this world, he has seen countless women that surpasses her talent and beauty in the four divine heaven and have even cuddled with many of them. "I'm sorry, but I will have to decline your offer despite all your praises," Su Yang said a moment later, dumbfounding Zai Wang. "Can I ask you why?" Zai Wang asked him. "In terms of status and appearance, there's nobody in this world that can compare to her. and if you include her talent and gentle character, she's definitely a top choice for any man. Indeed, Xing's appearance is quite the feast for one's eyes, and her background is as impressive. However, I can tell that she's the type of woman who cannot bear to share her man. Su Yang spoke calmly. Even if she remains silent and won't complain about it, she will still feel pain inwardly. And as a man who cannot remain faithful to one woman, I cannot be with her. However, with that being said, that is not the only reason why I cannot join the Xi family. He continued, the Eastern continent is simply too small for me, and I do not plan on staying here forever. Once I get the chance, I will be leaving the Eastern continent to explore the world, so I cannot become a ruler for the Eastern continent. Xi Wang was speechless, as he truly did not know how to respond to Su Yang's words. And regarding Xi Xingfeng, he also had a feeling that she would rather have a healthy relationship with her significant other, and Su Yang's life as a dual cultivator will definitely put a heavy burden on her. Is my reasoning acceptable for you? Or should I give you a few more? If the circumstances were different, then I would not have hesitated to join the Xi family, but alas, Su Yang said to him. Haya, Xi Wang sighed, and he spoke. No, you don't have to say any more. I understand your feelings and reason very well. I'm sorry if I had placed you in an awkward spot with my request just now. It's truly a pity. If the Eastern continent had someone like him ruling it, it would surely prosper into a new era. Xi Wang inwardly shook his head. Anyway, I would like to personally thank you for allowing Xing to stay here. If you don't mind, I will also remain for a few days before I return to the Xi family. It's fine, really, Su Yang smiled. Here's a little something in return for your hospitality. Xi Wang suddenly handed him a storage ring. You can use it for yourself or share it with the profound Blossom sect. Su Yang accepted the storage ring without even bothering to look inside. Sometime later, they left the building to meet up with Xi Xingfeng, who was patiently waiting outside. I hope my grandfather did not bother you too much, Su Yang. Xi Xingfeng said to him afterward. He shook his head and said, it wasn't too bad. So you are saying that I had bothered you a little? Xi Wang raised his eyebrows. Ha ha ha. Su Yang casually laughed it off. Chapter 550. A selfish woman. After their small meeting at the Morning Wood Pagoda, Su Yang brought the Xi family to the best living quarters within the profound Blossom sect. This will be your living quarter until you decide to leave, but if it's not to your liking, we can always change it, since the sect is quite spacious and has a lot of room as of this moment. It's quite close to the Yin-Yang Pavilion where I am currently staying, and if you need anything, you can just contact me using this communication jade slip. Su Yang said to them before returning to the Yin-Yang Pavilion a few minutes later. Once they entered their new living quarters, Xi Wang asked Xi Xingfeng, my granddaughter, how do you feel about Su Yang? What's with the sudden question, grandfather? And I respect Su Yang very much. Not only is he very talented, but he's also a very kind individual, she calmly responded. Aya, that's not what I am asking, but you should already know that. There's no need to be so reserved in front of this old man because I will support you no matter what. Therefore, tell me what you think of Su Yang as a man. Would you mind taking him as your husband? Xi Xingfeng closed her eyes and remained silent for a good minute before speaking. Su Yang. He's what most women would call the perfect man. He's extremely handsome, highly talented, profoundly knowledgeable, and most importantly, a caring individual. All in all, he's an extraordinary individual, almost too perfect if I am being honest. I won't mention his methods of cultivation, as I believe that he's only doing what he enjoys, albeit it might be a bit eccentric. However, the thing that interests me the most is his demeanor, how he always remains so elegant and noble-like. Among the countless men that have looked at me, he's the only one who doesn't look at me with lustful eyes and filthy thoughts, and he's even looked at me directly in the eyes without a veil covering my face. Furthermore, I can tell that he's not faking it and is genuinely not fazed by my appearance. If someone like Su Yang is willing to accept me as his Tao companion, I would not hesitate to become his woman, as I am confident that he will make me the happiest woman in this world. However, with all that being said, the possibility of us being together is highly unlikely, mainly because of the fact that I am a selfish woman. Although I might be fine now, if we actually become Tao companions, I do not think I will be able to bear seeing him being passionate with other women. Perhaps this is due to my background and how I was raised, but I simply do not wish to share him with others. Zai Xingfeng sighed at the end. Zai Wang was speechless, as Su Yang had said the exact same thing to him just some time ago. He was right on the mark. It appears that he knows more about R than myself despite barely spending time with each other, he thought to himself, silently admiring Su Yang's ability to assess women. What a pity, he sighed a moment later. If Su Yang becomes a part of the Zai family, our influence will surely spread to the other 3 continents, not to mention he is also acquainted with someone from the Holy Central Continent. However, if you cannot bear seeing him with other women, then you can only give up or make him adore you to the point where he is willing to abandon the other women, but that is highly unlikely. I'm sorry, grandfather, for disappointing you, Zai Xingfeng said. If anyone should apologize, it should be me. Don't let this conversation pressure you, as I was only curious about your feelings, Zai Wang said before going to his own living quarters a few minutes later. Once Zai Xingfeng was alone, she sighed. If only I could be more open-minded. Meanwhile, inside the Yin-Yang pavilion, Liu Lanjai approached Su Yang and asked him, "Is everything okay? What happened to the Zai family?" "They will be staying with us for some time due to some complications," he said. "What? They are going to be staying in the sect? Do you know how long this will last? I cannot cultivate with a peaceful mind knowing that the Zai family could be watching." Su Yang chuckled and said, "Calm down for a moment. Why would they be peeking at our cultivation? As long as you don't bother them, they won't bother you. Anyway, I have to leave the sect for a few days and a few weeks, as I have business at the Burning Lotus sect. Though if you need anything, just contact me through the communication jade slip as usual." While they were in a conversation, Bai Lihua suddenly showed up with a panicked expression. "Is it true that the Zai family is here, and even the ancestor is here? Tell me where they are so I can greet them," she said to them. Su Yang nodded and gave her the location of their living quarters. "Su Yin, are you in there? Come with me to greet the Zai family," Bai Lihua called out to Su Yin, who was still sleeping in the room. A few moments later, a drowsy-looking Su Yin appeared. "Hurry up and fix your appearance. If you greet the ancestor whilst looking like that, that would spell the end for the Heavenly Swan sect," Bai Lihua said to her. "You are exaggerating," Su Yang smiled. A few minutes later, after Su Yin fixed her appearance, Bai Lihua dragged her to the Zai family. "Sect leader of Heavenly Swan sect, Bai Lihua, greets the ancestor and your highness." Su Yin from the Su family and Heavenly Swan sect greets the ancestor and your highness. They bowed to them with the utmost respect. "Oh, what's the Heavenly Swan sect doing at the Profound Blossom sect?" Zai Wang raised his eyebrows in interest. "It was my disciple, Su Yin's coming of age, and she wanted to celebrate it with her elder brother, Su Yang, so we arrived here a few days ago." Bai Lihua explained their reason for their presence at the Profound Blossom sect. "So it's like that. Anyway, you can drop the formalities, as we are also guests at the Profound Blossom sect," Zai Xingfeng said to them with a gentle smile.